I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 168. This one is with AJ Simcox. We talk about his time playing baseball at UT and in the minors. If you'd like to learn more about AJ, give him a follow on Twitter and Instagram at AJ Simcox. That's SIMCOX. Now, I appreciate AJ for coming on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. What is your favorite movie? There, we'll start with that. Or what's your favorite baseball movie? Holy shit. What a stupid question.
Well, I'm 29, so... My favorite, and it's probably, for my generation, probably a popular opinion, for...
Can I take a guess? Either Little Big League or Angels in the Outfield?
0 for 2. That's why, it's The Sandlot.
Oh, good Lord.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not...
Okay.
For, diehard baseball fans, probably not, their favorite movie, but for me, there's just a lot of sentimental value.
Did you see it when they showed it at the Tennessee Theater?
No. I think my sister did.
It was awesome.
She's, She's plugged in down. She always knows what's going on. I'm not like that.
I always see her at events, or I'll post from an event. She's like, "I meant to go to that."
Yep.
Like, of course you did.
Yep. She'll always, "Oh, hey, this is going on down here.
Yeah.
This is going on down here. This new restaurant's going on."
Yeah.
Now that I've started working with you, I've gotten plugged in a little bit more. But
did you tell her you went to La Esperanza?
Yes.
Did she mind blow a little?
Yes. Yes, and that place it's good.
Yeah. We have someone from Covenant Health coming down, and I tried to choose lunch, and I gave her the options of Jackie's Dreams or La Esperanza, and she was like, I want to go to both. And I was like, well, we'll try for Jackie's Dream, and if it's closed, we'll go to La Esperanza.
Does Jackie's Dream have funky hours, or just... hit or miss some days?
I love Miss Jackie. Some days she just decides, hey, I'm going to go to Chicago for the week and takes off.
Okay.
So you have to check the Facebook page. My sister's boyfriend came down from Boston, and they wanted to go to Jackie's Dream, and she kept putting it off. I was like, nope.
Gotta go now.
You got to go when she's open.
Perks of being a business owner, right?
Yeah. So
there's a lot of crap that comes with it, but
she
you gotta make your own schedule.
Went, and they were closed. It's like, you waited too long.
That's tough.
You flew close. He's going to have to come back down to go there, I guess.
There's worse places you could have to go.
Oh, my God. We went there from work. Who was it? I think it was Did Kevin go? No, it was maybe Mike. It was Mike, Kendra, Dana, me. I'm probably forgetting somebody. And it was just like, they were all just kind of sitting there staring, except for Mike. Mike fit in well, but.
I've only been there once, and I think I told you, I ordered, I think it was the mild.
Yeah.
For me, mild is level 10 spice. But I was thinking it was going to be Gus's fried chicken.
Oh, no.
With the hot chicken.
No.
But it was just drenched and covered,
Yep.
and it was good.
It was good.
I probably won't get the mild next time. I'll probably just get the original, and I'll still probably sweat from it, but
My hack
it was
is
very good.
there's two. Go on Fridays and get fish, and they'll do the hot sauce on it.
Ooh,
And that's very good.
I
And
like
then
fried fish.
Sunday, she has turkey and dressing and banana pudding, and it tastes like my grandmother's turkey and dressing and banana pudding. It's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you go. So you're originally from here,
Yes.
and you grew up in Farragut.
Yes.
Did you ever go to Owens?
No.
Did you know about Owens? Okay.
Not until 5 seconds ago.
There, in Farragut, there's that shopping center where there used to be a El Charo or something in
Yeah.
the corner. You know,
I
there's
know
a
exactly
pizza
what you're talking
joint.
about. Yeah.
So where that pizza joint is used to be a turkey-based restaurant called Owens. It was around forever. And while I worked out Pet Safe, I would go there at least once a week.
But growing up, my parents or my dad, we didn't go to like local spots.
Oh,
We're just he's just a big chain restaurant, fast food guy,
yeah.
and so Outback, Red Lobster, went there all the time. About the only local spot that he goes is probably Sam and Andy's,
Okay.
which
Cash. Yeah.
Cash
is
only.
king.
great business model.
I can't tell you how many times I went in there. I was like, crap. Now I got to use their machine that charges like $3.
Yeah, $3 and I think 50 cents.
Yeah. Every once in a while.
Also, genius business model.
Yeah. I worked with a bunch of older engineers. So every once in a while I look at them and I go, you got me this time. I'll get you next time.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying that, man.
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times too.
Oh my
And I'll always like if I have a buddy come in town or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, burger." It's either so I'm west side of town, so for me it's Sam and Andy's.
Yeah.
This side of town, that's probably like a sin because it's always Litton's.
Yeah. Nope, not
no?
for me.
No, okay,
In Skip Grill.
okay.
And before In Skip Grill, it was the Creamery, which burned down, which was on Motel. It was just around the corner from Litton's. Litton's used to be great when I was a kid. I'm sorry if anybody from Litton's listens to this, but it's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah, I've only been, I think until I started working at Schaefer, I think I only went once, maybe twice my entire
Okay.
life. Again, we didn't really come down
Yeah.
to this side of town, but I like it. I think it's overblown.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
The fact that
good, but-
every time Herb Street comes down, he's like, I have to go to
Yeah.
Litton's. I was like, now the cakes are really good.
yeah.
Their
the
desserts are really
desserts
good.
Every time I go, I get my mom a turtle brownie
Oh, hell yeah.
because that's her like every Christmas. I'll either get her turtle fudge or just like the actual turtles
Yeah.
because that's just her favorite thing.
That's awesome.
So she never wants anything anyway, so it's just something simple and easy.
The
She
big
loves
thing
it.
over here is Louis.
Yes,
'Cause I grew up on Louis,
I've been there twice.
and I finally had to stop getting mad at people. Because my buddy from New York, Russell Tannenbaum, he was like, I went there, it's too greasy. I was like, you shut your mouth. I will choke
I think-
you.
I think I've actually been once, and I think I got spaghetti.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Spaghetti with meat sauce.
Yeah,
The number 3 is spaghetti with meat sauce, hamburger, steak, and that's it.
so
And
you've been a
it's-
time or two.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Every time with my family for Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthday, it's always Louis.
It kind of has the same feel as like a Litton's or the
Yeah.
Sam and Andy's, where you can tell it hasn't been renovated in a while, but that's part of what makes it so good.
And what's funny is that's the new place.
Yeah,
They destroyed the old place, putting in the exit ramp there at Broadway.
okay.
And when they did, my dad called them, because we were in there a lot, and said, if you need help carrying the grill down the street, we will come down there. We are big men. He was like, don't lose any of the grease. Please don't lose any of the grease. I'm not kidding. He called him. He was like, I will help. I will bring my brothers. I will bring my son.
That's
We will-
Louis' secret sauce.
Yeah, that we were volunteering to carry, and they were like, no, we've got it. And he's like, okay, I swear, if you need help, we will come. Do not lose the grease. The grease is, that was my thing in high school. That's where I would take girls on dates.
Okay.
And I did really well because all the other guys, it's like Crystals or McDonald's. I was like, no, I'm going to take you to Louis. It's only like $20 like back then. It
Yeah.
was $20.
Probably 35 now.
Yeah.
40.
I was like, other than spending $6 at McDonald's, I was like, no, we'll go to Louis. It was fancy.
What's in your opinion, what is the best burger in Knoxville?
And Skip Grill is the
And
best.
Skip, yeah.
It's not even close.
Okay.
Like, The second I would say would be Abridged.
Yeah.
Abridged is really good. I've heard J.C. Holway's is really good, but I've not been there.
Yeah. I've only been once. Didn't get the burger.
Yeah.
Cornbread there is sensational.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for cornbread. My grandmother always used to make the best cornbread.
Sweet or regular?
It was regular.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
I don't like the jalapeno cornbread. I'm out on that.
Okay.
But again, the hot. It's just spicy. Doesn't
Have you
do
ever
it for
had
me.
fried cornbread?
No.
It
I didn't
looks
even
like
know that was a
pancakes.
thing.
You make the batter and then you deep fry it, or you fry it in a cast iron skillet.
Kind of like a hush puppy.
It's flat like a pancake.
Okay.
So my grandmother, I don't like pinto beans.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, when her and Papa had pinto beans, I would have a piece of fried cornbread, cheese, hamburger patty, bacon, cheese, fried cornbread. I would have 2 of those, and I weighed 330 when I graduated high school.
I was $165.
Oh, jeez.
I was a twig.
I was probably in the 6th or 7th grade when I weighed 160. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So originally from here, what did your folks do for a living?
Mom, as long as I've been around, she never worked.
Okay. She's a mom.
Yep, she was a mom. Dad had a lifelong baseball career. Still to the day does. He both my parents are from Chattanooga. Mom went to Hickson, Dad went to East Ridge. And then Dad played he played everything everyone did back in the day, but he was really good at multiple sports. But baseball was the one that he really loved. Went and played 2 years at Cleveland State, and then went and played at Ole Miss. So hotty toddy for 2 years.
How old is your dad?
He is turning 65
Okay, never mind.
next week.
So my dad and uncles went to Cleveland State.
Okay.
I think for maybe like a year before they went off and fought in the war. And then I think they came back and went to I can never get the math down on when they went to Cleveland State. But it would have been, 66 to 70, somewhere in there. So your dad would have still been.
Yeah. So he went there to Ole Miss for 2 years, played for Jake Gibbs, who's still probably, the Ole Miss Walk of Fame for their athletes is named after him. So he's like their legend. He was their starting quarterback on the football team. I don't know if they won a national championship. I don't know if Ole Miss ever has, but they were like at one point number 1 in the country that year. The famous play against LSU Ole Miss back in like the 50s when I can't remember the guy's name. It was way before my time. My dad told me the story probably 15 times and still can't remember the name, but whatever. Ole Miss punted to LSU. The guy returned it for the touchdown. Jake Gibbs was the guy that missed the tackle to lose, and I think LSU went on to win the national championship that year.
Holy crap.
So, but Jake ended up, from there, he was an All-American football player and baseball player at Ole Miss back then. A lot of people played multiple sports.
There's a guy out of Fulton that went to school, I think graduated with my dad, I think Ron Whidbey. Yeah. I think he played both basketball and football at UT. Yeah. Like he played 2 sports at UT, and maybe even ran track. Like it was something insane.
You'll still see the guy that'll run track and play football, or occasionally a baseball and football guy. But it's so tough. It's so demanding. But now it's almost hard to find guys that play multiple sports in high school, much less college.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to that at some point down the road. But yeah, so then he played at Ole Miss for 2 years, my dad did, and then played professionally. He was a shortstop as well. Played professionally for the Astros for 3 years, or 2 years. His first full season, he was in high A. Second full season, he was in double A. So he was on a really good track. And then there was a ball back to the pitcher. He reached, the throw was up the line, reached to get it. Guy slid into his knee, ACL, MCL, meniscus, gone. That was in 83 or 84. Back then, you don't come back from that injury. So he came back, played a little bit the next year, and he was done. So went back to Chattanooga, got just a everyday job like anybody else would, and then Jake Gibbs.
Did he have a degree from LSU?
From Ole Miss.
Or from Ole Miss?
Yes.
Okay.
After his first year in pro ball, that off season, he had to go back and take a couple classes, and he got his degree.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was marketing. I don't know. He doesn't use it. That's how most people are, right?
We all use our marketing degree.
Yeah. But yeah, so then Jake Gibbs, not 6 months later, called him up and was like, "Hey, Slim." That's my dad's nickname because he was skinnier than I was. I think he was like 6'3", 155, 160 pounds. It's tiny, just a twig. And he's like, "Hey, I got a job for you if you want to come down here and coach." And he hung up the phone. He's like, "Well, hey, let me talk to Linda, who's my mom, and let me talk to her and see what she thinks." And he hangs up and goes, "Linda, we're moving to Oxford. Jake just offered me a coaching job. I'm going to go coach down there." So he coached down there for about 6 or 7 years. And then Jake got let go as the head coach at Ole Miss. And Jake ended up, he had an 8 or 9 year career in the big leagues with the Yankees. And that was when, I think it was Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, all those guys.
Crap. I'm looking him up because I'm curious. I know this is a long shot. If he's any relation to Joe Gibbs. Because Joe Gibbs is from sports.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I wonder if they are related.
I doubt it. And I only say that because I feel like if they were, my dad would have told me that by now.
Yeah.
But could be.
No, it looks like no.
But yeah, so he's an Oxford legend. He was the top dog quarterback there. He was their Peyton Manning until Archie came there, I guess is what you could say.
He looks like a Yankee from that era.
Right.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And he got drafted for the NFL and MLB, and he chose baseball. And I think it was the Eagles drafted him in like the second round, third round, something like that.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but ballpark right there. And yeah, so that's how my dad got into coaching. He coached at Ole Miss for, I believe, 6 or 8 years, and then came to Tennessee in 1990. Fall of 90, I believe, and then been here ever since.
So he would have coached Helton.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So he was there from 91, was their first season, 91 to 07 with Delmonico.
Okay. But I still remember when he got hurt playing football.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was in one of those moments of quickness. My dad's sitting there like holding a beer, and he goes, "I think I see Delmonico running out on the field."
Yeah.
It was like, oh, gee, I think that was the Mississippi State game. Because I think, from what I remember, Colquitt got hurt in the first game, which was, I think, UCLA. And then Helton started a few games, and I think it was Mississippi State.
Yeah.
He got hurt, and we were all just like, oh, God.
Yeah,
so
I'm
hope
sure
these freshmen are worth what they talked about him.
Turns out he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when Helton got hurt, my dad probably lost a few pounds from some stuff running down his leg.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine.
Because they had quite the team a couple years there, 94, 95. I think 96, they were really good
Trimble.
too. Mm-hmm. Scott Vieira was on those teams. He ended up he was a AAA guy with the Cubs. They had R.A. Dickey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they had some guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a handful of other guys I'm not remembering because I was born in 94 and they were there in 94, 95. So.
The reason why I remember Bubba Trimble is my job in middle school, because I had to work, in high school, was keeping score at ballparks and tending to the fields. So there was one guy at our field that all he talked about was Bubba Trimble. And I was like, when he was playing high school ball. And I don't think it was his dad. I just think it was somebody who maybe was the dad of another Central player. Yeah. But so that name has always stuck in my head of that dude won't shut up about Bubba Trimmel. I don't know who Bubba Trimmel is, but shut up, man.
Yeah. He ended up being a dang good player too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they so then he was at UT for those 17 years, let go of Delmonico. When that happens, none of the coaches get retained.
Oh yeah.
And then I was in 7th grade going into 8th, I believe. Yeah, I was in 7th grade going into 8th. My sister was a freshman going into her sophomore year. So he decided, he's like, I'm not moving them. They've been there. They'll here their whole lives. We're not going anywhere. So then he did stayed in baseball. Him and Nick Senzel's dad, Jeff Senzel, opened up a hitting facility together. Now it's Diamond Baseball, and it's under new ownership of probably about 7-8 years ago. And my dad's still just doing hitting lessons, and he's coaching travel ball teams. As soon as he got out, I was, like I said, 7th grade. So then he coached my travel ball team from when we were 7th grade all the way through high school.
Okay.
And I mean, he's just got such a gift for that. He invests so much time in those kids, and he's got so many good connections.
Yeah.
Just through college coaches and whatnot, and
all those years experience too.
Yeah. So he he helps connect some of the coaches with players and get some guys some opportunities. It's pretty cool.
Did he encourage you and your sister to play sports, or did you all just naturally want to play sports?
I grew up in the dugout.
Okay.
So I was always, it was always something that was going to happen. My grandfather was apparently the best center fielder in adult men's softball in Chattanooga, and so I think it's just always kind of running.
Was baseball your first sport?
Yeah. Baseball and basketball. I never played football.
Okay.
My dad says it's because I didn't want to. I think it was because he didn't want me to get hurt. But yeah, I was always a baseball, basketball guy, and then once, at Farragut, if you play baseball and that's your sport, you don't play another sport.
Really?
In high school, yeah. So there's been a couple guys that have done it, but it's a full-time commitment.
I'm trying to think.
Not really a whole lot. If you want to see the field and play and reach your potential on the team for Farragut, you don't really play another sport.
So it's so funny at Fulton. There was a guy in my class that he was the starting quarterback, the starting point guard, and a pitcher. What else did he play? Shortstop or second? I'm trying to remember what Wally played. But yeah, he played, and I played all three and threw shot put too.
Yeah. That's how my dad was. When he was at East Ridge, he was, the shortstop on the baseball team. He was the point guard on the basketball team. Yeah. He was, I don't know what. I know he punted and kicked in football. I don't know if he played another position or not. But actually, when he was at Ole Miss, his senior year, because Jake, obviously, with his football background too, my dad was just messing around punting on the football field, and the coach walked by and asked him if he would be interested in doing it, and he talked to Jake about it, and Jake's like, yeah, if you want to do it, go for it. And he was like, well, I came back for my senior year for baseball. There's no point in me playing football too.
Okay.
So he could have been a two-sport guy at Ole Miss.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
So you focused down on baseball, and you mentioned travel ball.
Yep.
Travel ball was something I didn't know about. I don't know if it was as prevalent in the 80s and 90s.
It definitely wasn't.
There was some fall ball.
Yeah.
But it was weird. Like when I was playing ball, we had rec leagues. So I played for Alice Bell Ballpark, or I played at Eastside Y.
Yep.
But there was a team, the Knoxville Stars or something.
Yeah.
That was I hate to say bougie people,
or
the people that
guilty as charged.
Okay, were you on the Knoxville Stars
for a couple of years? Yeah.
But those kids, like one of the guys I grew up with, Tyson, he would go and play fall ball, and would travel sometimes like Alabama.
I played travel ball when I was playing. It was kind of up on the upswing, but it was not what it is now.
Yeah.
I've
got friends with kids that their kids play year round.
I don't know. It's not good for the kids. I think I'm a strong believer that you need to play as many sports as you can,
Yeah.
as long as you can.
Yeah.
I think that helps prevent injuries because, I mean, like I said, I played baseball and basketball up until high school, and then once I got to high school, I stopped playing basketball. But my 8th grade year, I was 5'6" or 5'8", one of the two, and then my freshman year, I was 6'2". So I shot up.
Yeah.
And it was all over one summer. But I was like 6'2", 130 pounds.
Oh my God.
And then sophomore year, I gained a little bit of weight. And then junior year,
I'm only laughing because my freshman year I was 6'1", 215.
yeah. I was a twig.
I was damn near 100 pounds more than you.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious.
Yep. And but I was in a back brace junior year of high school with stress fractures in my lower back. And I think part of that was, one, it was because I grew so fast.
Yeah.
And I was so skinny, but the other part was because of how much rotation with swinging and just focusing on baseball. I think that was a pretty big element of that. So I'm a full believer that kids need to play as many sports as possible, especially with like baseball, with how bad the throwing motion is for you.
Yeah.
Because it's just not a natural motion for a.
And I also think about how many pro athletes I know that spend the off season like learning stuff. Like I remember there was one year where LeBron James was like, I want to be better at passing. So he watched every single game that Magic Johnson ever played.
Yeah. You've got a lot of downtime in the off season.
Yeah.
And it's kind of dangerous because.
Well, I think I mean, if you're dedicated,
it's great.
It'll be great, and you'll be even better the next year because of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
You have to be very disciplined because, I mean, with baseball, our season in pro ball ended September. And then if you didn't have like the instructional leagues or anything like that, from October, November, December, January, potentially February.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're literally just working out and prepping for the next season. So when I say it's dangerous, like you can easily get behind. You have to be incredibly disciplined in like your workout because it's very easy to be like, oh, well, it's just one day. Like I'll go skip it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one day becomes two or two becomes three. Or you just really start to like the off season and be like, oh my God, I have all this time.
Yeah.
All I have to do is work out, and then after that, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So it's it can make or break you for sure.
And it was weird for us because like football, it was a lot of weight room.
Yeah.
A lot of weight room in the off season. Baseball and basketball, never. I remember one of our best basketball players couldn't even bench the bar.
Yeah.
He was struggling. I was like,
Kevin Durant.
No, Andu. And I still, to this day, I'm like, man, how much better could he have been if they had worked more? Although our team my senior year was insane, so I don't know that they could have been any better.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's weird. Every sport's different. And me and Andrew were talking about this the other day. But, like, if you go to a regular gym, like a Gold's Gym or something where there's an insane amount of people, but you go in there and you do the baseball specific workouts that has to prepare you for the season, just for the longevity of it. 99% of the people are going to look at you like you are the dumbest person in the world. Like, what the heck is this idiot doing?
Yeah.
And it's just so specialized. But like football, I never played football, but I've seen a lot of those guys work out when I was at UT and all that stuff. And I mean, it is just, you can attest to it. It's go in and throw up as much weight as you can.
Yep.
Back squat, deadlift, bench press, curls,
incline,
curls. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Oh my God. So I'll tell you this. So my coach, when I don't think I've told this story on here. So I started weightlifting. I was doing curls. I was just doing curls. He's like, you're doing that wrong. And so he was like, hold it up. Hold the bar up. I was like, okay. And he was like, I'm going to put my hand right here and I'm going to put my fist right here. And he was like, if you touch my hand, I'm going to punch you in the balls. And he sat there and then he went like this. And I was just like, because I had thrown a lot of weight on there because
Yeah.
I was used to just
Oh yeah.
doing that. And it took 3 minutes for me to get to the end.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was in the lunchroom and he came up behind me and hooked me under the pits and picked me up and started bouncing. And I was crying like a baby because I was like, I can't move my arms because of yesterday. And yeah, it was all just insane weight.
I mean, by no means am I just like a workout guru, clearly. But the one bicep workout that always got us was, we called them crazy sevens, to where you start the first 7, you just go halfway up and then down.
Oh, yeah.
The second half, or the second 7 is the top half of it, and you just go halfway down.
Oh,
and then
no.
the third 7 is the full, and it would kill you.
I think we would do like quarter, half, 3/4, all the way.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That's what cracks me up is when CrossFit became a big thing.
Yeah.
I had all these friends that are like, come on, you need to do CrossFit. I was like, I did enough of that. I don't ever want to do that again.
Yeah.
I did burpees and wompies and whatever we called them. And
I'm with you on that.
my back and my knees still hurt because of burpees and wompies.
Yeah, we had when we were in college, our strength coach, and I don't know how much of it was what he wanted or how much of it was what our coaches wanted, but there was quite a bit of CrossFit basis to it. Like we would have days where our entire workout would be 180 pull-ups, and that's all we would do.
God.
Or we would have days that we would have to do 100 pull-ups, 100 burpees, and that's it. Like it was just so. I didn't really put on a whole lot of weight when I was in college either. It wasn't until Pro Bowl when I had like the 4 or 5 months in the off season where I actually started putting on
Although
a little bit of weight.
I would say about the time you were there, but I wonder if she was just on the football side. There was a female doctor that was like a nutritionalist,
Allison?
maybe, that Dad and we would see her at every game, and she always had a giant backpack.
Yeah, kind
that
of.
she would run up and down the field.
Brownish black hair,
Yeah.
kind of longer,
Yeah,
kind of wavy.
yeah.
Allison, I'll probably botch how you pronounce it, but I think it's Maurer. But
If you
she
say it, yeah,
is-
that sounds right.
So she is, she's awesome.
Okay.
She actually,
But was she for all sports, or was
she was the head nutritionist. She would help with other sports when she could, but her primary focus
it was football?
was football.
But it was just the backpack that we
Yeah.
cracked up about.
Oh,
we were like,
yeah.
and Dad was like, I saw a report on her. That's the nutritionist lady.
She's a rock star. She, when we were at UT, when I first got done at UT and was playing professionally, we would come back and work out in the off season, and
Yeah.
so we would still go up there and everything and talk to her. And she put her phone number in her contact name in my phone is Badass Nutritionist, and
Awesome.
she's really
Okay.
cool. And then actually, like my second full season, I was in AA and we were playing the Pirates, and she was there.
Oh,
And I didn't know that, but she had left UT and was the head nutritionist for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she had that role for a couple years. She had a couple young boys, and she did it for a couple years. She's like, I'm just gone so much. And
Yeah.
so now she is at Catholic high school,
Oh,
and
that's
she
cool.
is, I think, she might be the associate AD over there.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome.
awesome.
She'll put some of the football guys through workouts, the baseball guys, and she will kick their butt.
Okay. I need to have her on the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
sure
she's
it'd be-
really cool.
Although she would probably fuss at me. I'd have to hide all the Oreos in my kitchen. So you start focusing on baseball, and that started in high school?
Yeah, I mean it was always known that was like going to be the path, but as far as like just playing it in high school, yes. We back to like the travel ball thing. It was never really a huge thing when I was growing up either. At the beginning, I
Yeah.
played in the Farragut Rec League until I was
Yeah.
in 6th grade maybe, which is unheard of now. Like I don't even think if you're like serious about playing a sport or serious about playing baseball, I don't think you're going to play. I don't know, but I highly doubt you're playing in that league.
I still think the funniest thing is I still played rec ball in high school, and a lot of the kids in rec ball were kids who didn't have good enough grades to play in high school.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of kids from AE, some from Carter and Fulton, and I still contend to this day, and I'll be the sixth man on this team. But at Cal Johnson, my junior year, I guess, I guarantee you I could put together a team of 5 guys that would have beat any high school team's full roster in town. They were so good. I
believe it.
But they didn't have the brain, or they didn't have the education side of it.
Think of how many kids or athletes have grown up in, not great situations, rough situations, didn't have a chance with sports, or took it away from themselves because of their education, or just didn't have the foundation that they needed. Like, think of how many good players just never got the opportunity.
Hell, there's a guy, let's see, he was a junior when I was a sophomore IRM, that we were scrimmaging against Powell, and he ran the ball. And he was probably, let's say, 6'2", 240, solid muscle. He ran the ball and had 5 or 6 guys on him and was still running the ball.
Yeah.
And then his GPA came out, and it was like a 1.8. And so he had to stop playing football. And I think he dropped out of high school. Yeah. Like, it was just like that dude was like a D1 prospect.
Which, that's – you go back and forth, and you never know what's actually happening. But I feel like it's really hard to have a 1.8. And, you have to try.
He just didn't go to class, probably.
Well, especially being that – this is going to sound bad, but especially being that good of an athlete. Yeah. Like, people go out of their way to help you if you're struggling, but you're that good of an athlete.
No, Fulton was a different story. The last 3 years, we had a 28, let's say 25-year-old drug dealer that just walked the halls.
That's wild.
And 3 of my closest friends sold drugs for him.
Yeah.
Like, so at that point in time, it was a little like some of the teachers were scared of some of the students.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a little bit, I think now they would have figured out a way to tutor Iram and make him be good.
Yeah.
He was also a defensive end and would just demolish people.
6'2", 240 straight muscle. I'd say that'd probably be a good position.
And he was 16. Yeah. Like, God knows what he would have been when.
That's another thing I can't wrap my head around, is just how how certain guys just have the God-givens. That's what we call them in baseball. So the God-givens, right? Yeah. Like, you could go and you could do a month straight of nothing but working out, literally not stopping.
Yeah.
And you would never look anything remotely, and I'm not saying you, but just in general, you would never look remotely similar to how they look.
That's what sucked. I'm not going to mention names, but there was a kid who was a freshman when I was a junior that he came in. Really bad situation. It's just him and his dad. Very poor, lived in the projects. But he was, same thing, like 6'3", probably 220. Arm, just cannon.
Specimen.
Cannon. Yeah. I remember one time he stood flat-footed and threw it 70, 80 yards. Yeah. Like, just cannon. But we had our guy that had been the starting quarterback since my freshman year. And it's like, he's the starter. He's got all the, he knows all the plays. You don't know all the plays, so we're going to slot you in at receiver. He would drop passes on purpose, then go over to the coaches and go, put me in as quarterback.
Jeez.
And then he ended up playing quarterback, but he did not have the mental capacity to. But he was such a God-given talent. I think he still got recruited to go to college, even though he wasn't.
If you've got enough athletic ability, there's going to be someone that takes a chance on you just to see if they can develop you.
Yeah.
Because you can work hard and get more skilled, more talented, but you can't get that much more athletic. I mean, you can to an extent, but if you've got it, you've got it. You know what I mean?
That's what was wild. My senior year, we had 2 kids come in that were, God, now I can't pull their names. They were both 6'4" and like 270, 280, like offensive linemen, but they were the biggest pansies in the world. Like I out of pads could touch them, and they go, like, can I just have like a week to toughen you? Because when I played here, I got called.
Put them in a boxing rink or something.
Like my freshman year, I hit another guy in just practice, and we just stood up. And the coach, who's the greatest man in the world, looked at me, and the words that came out of his mouth, and he's like, "You're going to stand up, Ham? It just, I may have another chance, coach." And I hit the guy, and his legs came out from under him, and he went flying like 10 yards in the air. And he was like, "That's more like it."
That's like the scene from, what's the Michael Orr movie, The Blind Side?
Oh, yeah.
When, what's her name?
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, when Sandra Bullock gets on him.
Yeah.
The coach is like saying whatever, and she's like, "You're not coaching him right." She goes up to him and says the one thing, and next thing you know, he's carrying the kid to the bus.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. But those two kids, I still think about that. It's like, man, those two kids could have been something. I was like, because they came in as freshmen at 6'4".
Yeah.
And there was one kid when I went up to talk to the kids about design 7 or 8 years ago that I walked through the door and had to duck a little bit.
Yeah.
He walked in, and I watched his whole head have to. I was like, "Jeez, kid, whatever you want to do. You want to play on your phone while you're in here? That's fine, man." It's like, I think you could put me against a wall, man. Like, I'll talk to you about design, but I don't think you care about design, man.
Someone big enough to put you against a wall like that, that's a big boy.
So here's a fun story. There used to be a bar club music venue on the Strip when I was in college called Moose's Music Hall.
If it makes you feel any better, there's no more bars on the Strip anyways.
Except for Peyton's in the hotel.
Yeah.
But
still have never been there.
I've never been there because parking. I just don't like dealing with parking down there. But we would go to all these heavy metal shows, and my buddy Greg can tell stories all night about me just getting in a pit or picking up somebody and putting them up against a wall. Or one time, this dude just kept bumping into me, and I just got angry and went and ducked and hit him, and he went flying and took out like 10 people. And I turned around, and Greg and our buddy Scott are just dying laughing. They're like, "That's the funniest thing I've ever seen."
If you needed a job, they would have hired you as the bouncer.
One time we went, they had a guy who's a bouncer who looked like Superman. Like he had the spit curl, he had neck.
Just the Clark Kent and just, yeah.
And the pit kept hitting him, and he kept getting bounced and would hit me. And finally, I just reached around and grabbed him and moved him over. I was like, stood there and stared at people, and then would just hit him to get back in the pit. Yeah. One of these days, I need to get Greg on here to talk about him pushing me in the back, and I did that and pushed everybody up against the front barrier, and you heard a collective, "Oh!"
Jeez. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm on your good side.
Were there any players or people that like you liked their style or they motivated you when you were young?
Yeah, the two biggest were, so I was a shortstop. I was always a shortstop growing up.
Okay.
I played short all the way through. I think in 7th grade I played second, and then my sophomore year at Farragut I played third base just to get on the field. And then after that, I was nothing but a shortstop all the way through until my last year of pro ball.
Okay.
So with that, I grew up. I'm from here, but I grew up a diehard Yankees fan.
Okay.
Because of Jake Gibbs. My dad was a Yankees fan because of that, and I'm actually named after Jake. So my name's it's Austin J. It was supposed to be Austin Jacob.
Okay.
Jake Gibbs. My mom didn't like that, so she shortened it to J. So that's where it comes from. But originated from Jake Gibbs. So that was when my dad was a huge Yankees fan. So because my dad was, I was. And then, of course, the shortstop when I was growing up was Derek Jeter.
Oh, yeah.
So that was always who I really modeled my game around. I could slap it the other way with the best of them, like Jeter did. He was a taller shortstop, so just everything kind of. That was my favorite player in professional baseball, and then the one guy that was at UT that I really admired and was my favorite player was Chris Burke.
Okay.
Who was there from 99, 2000, 2001, and then he was All-American, Team USA. I think he went 10th overall. Played for a handful of years in the big leagues, and now he actually does a lot of the commentating on the SEC baseball games, College World Series, all that stuff.
Back when I could go to the games for free.
Yeah. Well, we went this past weekend and to the Sunday game against LSU, and one of my friends had a connection with the ticket office, and they got us tickets for $40 a piece. So it was what was a really good deal, especially for where the seats were. We were front row behind the Tennessee dugout.
Oh,
so they were great seats.
Yeah.
And we went to my parents' house after the game to pick up the dog, and she was like, my mom was like, what'd you pay for him? I was like, $40, thinking like, yeah, we got a steal. And she's like, I can't believe those games are $40 now, because they used to be free, $3, $5, whatever. Yeah. And now if you look on like Ticketmaster, they're $150.
That's the biggest struggle I have with any athletics, even on a college level.
Yeah.
Like my buddy is from Kentucky, my buddy Sean, and I was like, you know what, for his birthday, I'm going to get tickets. I've never been to Rupp. Let's go up to Rupp and see UT play Kentucky. And I looked, and like
Rupp
400.
Yeah.
Like minimum. And I think that wasn't even resale. And I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't need to go, man.
They and then everything moving to Ticketmaster doesn't help either.
Yeah.
With all the fees and all that crap. But I mean, with Tennessee, a lot of it's just supply demand. I mean, they're so good at everything now.
Yeah.
And it's just the thing to do that. I mean, football tickets. We bought our tickets the Orange Bowl year with Hooker. Hendon Hooker.
Yeah. For anybody in, I do have some listeners in like Australia that'll be like Ben Wooler's down there listening. He's like, you in Hookers? And it's like, look him up, Ben.
But I mean, we bought the year before that. Tennessee was doing a promotion of you could buy 4 season tickets or season tickets to 4 games, and each one I think was $80. Mm-hmm. So it was $320 for 4 games.
Yeah.
And you got to pick any of the games. So we picked all the SEC games. And then I think Pitt came that year, so we picked that game too. And then the next year was the Orange Bowl year. Well, instead of doing the 4 games, they offered season tickets for $600. That included the donation portion of it too. So that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, that season we won Florida, but we were undefeated going into Florida. So we had 10 tickets. We have 10 people that sit with us. And a couple of people ended up not going to the game. We spent $600 on the season tickets. They sold those tickets a piece for over $300. Jeez. And then the Alabama game, it was over $400. So it's just you can make your money back like that. But it sucks because...
Well, it was wild because my dad and uncles had season tickets forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one uncle, he's had season tickets since the 70s, 2 tickets. I don't think he pays anything in donation.
Yeah.
Or his donation may be grandfathered into where he pays like $100.
Right.
It's insanely low. But we had season tickets, and then I had an uncle pass away, and the other guy that went with us, he had bad knees and couldn't go, so it was my dad and 3 tickets. And he was like, oh, you can go to all of them. Before it would be scattered between the 2 other guys, my dad and Doc and Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And Ellie. I better not call him Eddie. Ellie. That's what his family called him, Eddie. We called him Ellie. But then when my uncle passed away, it was like, okay, well, then you get the ticket. You get to go. And they had a crappy season. They went like 5 and maybe 4 and something under Fulmer. And they sent back, and the donation had like quadrupled.
That was the year we were supposed to be they went 5-7 that year.
Yeah.
And we were preseason number 2 in the country because we had like the 3rd best recruiting class coming in, and we had
And Dad,
so much returning talent.
Dad was like, "You were out of your mind." I think he may have sent them a letter with a lot of F words in it of like, "You want how much money?" No.
Yeah.
So we ended up kind of scalping.
Fast forward, it's probably a bargain back then.
Yeah, and scalping the next year. No, it was going to be like to get those 4 tickets where we were at. I think it was going to be like $2,000 or $2,500 donation.
Yeah.
Plus the cost of the tickets. And
Right.
he was like, there ain't no damn way.
Yeah.
It's like, you're out of your mind. So we scalped the next year, and it was hilarious because, like, the first game, we got 2 tickets for $10 total.
Yeah.
And it was like the most expensive game. I think I think that may have even been the Cal game.
Yeah. When they had Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
and, or not Deshaun Watson,
Deshaun
Jackson and Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we sat almost in the student section, and I think we paid $10 total for those tickets. And then I think one of the games, like let's say, wasn't Florida, whoever, one of the big SEC games, we went and we couldn't find tickets under $100, and Dad went, hell with it. And he looked at my uncle who had season tickets. He was like, give me your keys. And we went back to the house and watched the game, then came back and picked my uncle up. He's like, I ain't paying that shit. We just took off and went home. Like, it was hilarious. But now, they had a crappy season, and they sent a letter to my uncle, and they're like, if you know anyone else who wants season tickets, we will give them to you at cost, no donation.
Yeah.
So he did it. We did it. And then we were doing that for a while, and then they're like, we need a little donation. So we would have to give a little donation. And then it finally hit a point like this last year where it was like, tickets are going to be $1,200 a piece for each one of your tickets.
Yeah.
And I looked at Dad, and I was like, oh, God, I can't do that I'm not doing that next year.
Yeah.
I was like, that's insane.
Yep. It's...
So I don't know how people go. My buddy and I, we wanted to go see Zion Williamson before he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, the Hawks is the closest one. So I looked at those, and I was like, I'm not doing this, man.
Did you ever end up getting to go to Rupp?
No.
No. I've gone twice. I went because Kentucky was actually my first offer for baseball.
Really?
Yeah. And so I went up on a couple of recruiting visits there, and actually the coach that was recruiting me was Bohannon, who was the Alabama coach last year that just got in trouble for sports betting.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that was a huge story in the college baseball world. But yeah, we went up, and it was when Calipari had pretty much just gotten there.
Okay.
He had been there maybe a couple of years. So I think John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and all those guys had already gone through. But the first game we went to, we went to their Midnight Madness.
Oh, geez.
So it was incredible.
Yeah.
I think the women's team played, they did like a first half before, and then the dance team for Kentucky came out and did their national championship routine, which was, it was insane. It was insane. And I knew a little bit about that stuff at the time because a girl that I went to high school with, she was dating my best friend. She went to UT as a dancer, and so she made us watch Tennessee's dance team because they were like, they won a national championship or were one of the best, and so we watched all those routines. But their Kentucky's dance team was insane. And then the men's came out, and they had like a dunk contest, but the intros that they had were like insane, and it wasn't like their best year, but they had, I think, Terrence Jones, who ended up playing like 7 or 8 years in the NBA, Brandon Knight, same thing, Enes Kanter, same thing. Like, they had some dudes on that team, which typical Calipari fashion.
Yeah.
You know, you're signing the number one draft or recruiting class every year.
Yeah.
And I think Thompson Bowling is incredible. It's not even comparable to Rupp.
Well, that's what kills. I've been to a few Titans games, and I'm literally like, what is happening? This is the most boring.
Yeah.
It's like having grown up going to UT football games.
I think part of that's because we grew up on college football probably, and just how much more passionate I think it is. And then, I don't know. I don't think the NFL games are near as fun or enjoyable. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll waste a Sunday on a couch for sure to watch.
Yeah.
But as far as like the atmosphere and going and stuff, I don't think it's...
I am more of I will passively watch pro football because my Bears are never on.
Yeah.
They're never on. Well, they
Well,
suck.
I was about to say they're not very good.
I'll say it. You can't say it. I'll say it. But it's even years that they've been good. Like
They're building a good team right now, though. They got a good roster. They got a lot of draft capital.
coaching.
We'll see if
Coaching just still scares the shit out of
we'll
me.
see if Caleb Williams
Yeah.
is as good as advertised.
But like once it gets to, I would say Christmas time is when I really start keying into NFL. When it starts getting interesting. Like
I've got like 4 or 5 fantasy teams every year.
yeah.
I throw up a bunch of parlays, so I'm locked in.
But on the flip side, every Saturday I will watch college football from the time I wake up to the Oregon-Hawaii game till 3 in the morning. Like,
no more Pac-12 after dark either.
I know.
Pac-10 after dark, I guess, was what it was when I was growing up. But
Okay, so you mentioned getting recruited. So where all did you get recruited, and were there pro scouts also coming to?
Yeah. So I was fortunate the year before me at Farragut. We had 2 guys that were on Team USA.
Okay.
So one was Philip Pfeiffer, who ended up going to Vanderbilt. He might still have. He has the most career wins in high school baseball.
Holy crap.
It was like 40-something. He started the state championship game all 4 years. Won all 4 as well. So he was he was ridiculous. He went to Vanderbilt and got up to AAA with the Braves, added to the 40-man with the Giants, and then got hurt again, and it ended his career. And then the other one was Nicky Delmonico. So Rod's son. I grew up with Nicky. We're still really good friends to this day, and he was also on Team USA. And that Team USA team that they were on was it was unreal.
Okay.
It was Jamison Tyon, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, like that whole group of that age guys that came up, and they won, obviously. But Nicky ended up, he was signed to Georgia. He ended up signing out of high school, got a really nice signing bonus. He made it to the big leagues for a little bit. He got hurt too, and now he's the AA hitting coach for the Barons, for the White Sox AA team. So there were a lot of scouts there anyways, and then recruiting-wise, I got, let's see, most of the SEC East teams. Baseball recruiting's weird because it's not like football or basketball. It's like once you commit somewhere, you pretty much go there.
Okay.
There's a lot more limited scholarships. You're on 11.6 scholarships. Now it's changed a little bit with NIL.
Yeah.
That's changed everything. But nobody really ever gets full scholarships. You'll get partials. The minimum scholarship you can get is 0.25. Most of the guys that are like elite will get, there'll be a few full rides, but most of them are 35, 50, upwards 75, maybe.
Okay.
So you're not on a full ride, and then, but that's just kind of how it is. So let's see, Kentucky offered me first. Tennessee offered me. Vanderbilt offered me. South Carolina, Georgia. Ole Miss was interested, and they were sending me a lot of stuff. And then they got a commitment from Gavin Cicchini, he was a dude. He was really good. But he ended up signing out of high school. He was a first-rounder out of high school.
Oh, geez.
So he ended up signing. Well, about a week before I was going to commit, Ole Miss came and watched me play down in Perfect Game. And they were talking to my dad, and they were like, hey, Slim was like, hey, who are y'all here to watch? And he's like, actually, we're here to watch AJ. And he's like, oh, I think you guys are too late. Like, we're wrapping it down. Like, we're shutting it down. We know what we're going to do. And he goes, okay, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up never getting an offer from Ole Miss, but the next week I committed to Tennessee. But it had come down, Tennessee, South Carolina were probably my top two.
Okay.
Georgia and Vandy were the close third.
Okay.
So there were a couple other schools that
Was there
were
any pro?
Yeah, so I got drafted out of high school by the Rockies.
I still do not understand how that works. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, every sport's different. They knew I wasn't going to go,
Okay.
out of high school. We had a figure, or my dad kind of had a figure, and that he knew I wouldn't get.
Yeah.
So it was just, hey, if you offer this, great, we'll do it, but we're going to college. But the Rockies drafted me, and I think it was the 32nd round. And it was just like hey, we know you're going to school, but we wanted you to hear your name called.
Okay. Yeah.
We thought you deserved it.
That's awesome.
And so that was the whole conversation, and then it was on to the next
Did you know that
thing.
going into the draft, or did you get a call?
No, what exactly?
When they were doing the draft and they drafted you, did you know before the draft started that you were going to get drafted, or?
No, I mean, I had an idea, because
Okay.
it happens for like people that were in my situation. It happens relatively frequently because
Okay.
now the draft's changed now, and I think there's only, I could be wrong on this, I haven't kept up with it as much, but I think there's 10 rounds now. But back then there was like 45 or 50 rounds.
Jeez.
So that was like, you'll on Twitter or whatever, you'll see Johnny Manziel was drafted in the 40th round. It was just that kind of pick.
Okay.
It wasn't ever actually like a serious thing,
Okay.
but
Well, still,
I mean,
drafted,
it's cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
no, I mean,
like,
it was really
be
cool.
an 18-year-old kid,
yeah.
like, yeah.
I was
Okay.
17 actually.
17, oh.
Yeah.
I was also 17 when I graduated high school.
Yeah, I was young.
Okay, so
Never spent a day at 21 in college the first time I was there. So that was a lot of fun.
I don't think I was 21.
Never had a fake ID either.
I didn't. I was going to bars in high school.
Yeah. Well, I looked like I was 12.
Yeah.
So
That's another difference.
Yeah.
I was going to bars and I was bringing people with me.
Yeah.
I was buying dip and cigarettes for people when I was like 15
Yeah.
and dirty magazines. When I was 15, there was one time I went in to get dip and they were like, do you want this flavor or this flavor? And I went, hold on. And I walked outside. I was like, hey man, do you want this flavor or this flavor? He's like, I want this. He's like, okay. I went back in. I was like, I'll take this. And I'm like, okay, here you go.
yeah. Yeah. No, we ordered fake IDs one time. My buddy's, one of my teammates, his dad was a cop in California, and he told us a website to order them off of. And
That's hilarious.
yeah, and so we did the whole thing, like, and Andrew was part of this too, actually, because we were roommates in college, and we had 5 guys that we lived with, and we had a white wall, so we all went back there, took our picture up against the wall, all that stuff, sent it in, used different addresses. I think mine was from Alabama, changed my name, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was from China, and I think it was like $100 a person, so you get 2 IDs.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I think it'll come in like a magazine or something. Just be on the lookout. Nothing. Never came. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just...
That cop was probably like, I got another one.
Yeah. He was just picking on his son's idiot friends or what. But
What was the strip like? I'm trying to think. I don't think I went around that. What year would that have been?
I was there 13, fall of 12 to spring of 15. So
No, I was already gone.
the
Like when I worked at the paper, we would sometimes go to Copper Cellar had the burger place upstairs. It was open during lunch. We would go there for lunch because they had like Burger Mondays where you got
it was
burger
$5 burgers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would do that. But
That was still a thing until it just closed.
really,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we would go to. I would never go on the strip for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, my freshman year, I was a goody two shoes. I probably drank maybe twice. I had my first sip of alcohol once I got to college.
Okay.
I never, I was very straight line, never did any of that stuff. And so we lived in Gibbs, which was the athletic dorm on campus, and we could just walk to the strip, but it was a long walk, but you could do it. And so I was always just the guy that would come and pick up guys. I would just make sure I would take care of everyone. And then every once in a while I would let loose a little bit. But there was the Dueling Pianos bar was still there. Hannah's was there. Obviously Cool Beans. It was Long Branch. Yeah. Now it's Leaderboard, which someone said
they tore down the Long
did?
Branch. I think
Okay.
the house. That place.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stories about the Long Branch, man. That place is nuts.
I think I went there maybe once or twice. And then there was Rumors was the big one.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I did go to Rumors sober, and that was quite the experience. There was a disco ball in the center, and nobody knew. And it was just
Really?
Yeah, it was wild.
So when Moose's was there, I was just telling this on Mike McGill's podcast, we would go for metal shows during the week. And then on the weekend, because there's a college bar, they would have, I think they were called foam parties, where they fill it up to above everybody's height with foam.
Yeah.
And I only went once with a guy I worked with, and I could see above the foam, but I stepped on two people having sex. And what I said on the podcast is I was just in there like 2 nights before and saw someone puke in that same general area.
It sounds like something that would be in an American Pie movie.
Yeah. And I was just like, I stepped on people having sex, and I grabbed my friend. I was like, we're leaving. I'm not doing this, man. This is not my bag, man.
Yeah, that would have been a strong no for me.
Moose's, I'm trying to think. There's probably only one act I saw there that you would know. Kid Rock.
Yeah.
When he was just getting started.
Okay.
He played there. And I would say there were 500 people there.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. Some of the other bands you're not going to know, like Fear Factory. System of a Down. You ever heard of System of a Down? That's surprising. They're like a big metal band.
Okay.
New metal, like late 90s, early 2000s. But they're an Armenian band out of Los Angeles. I guarantee you've heard some of their songs.
I probably have.
Yeah. They're a very weird, artsy band.
Yeah.
But they were like an opening act at that bar.
But
we would go for like $3 and see 5 bands, and they would be nationally touring massive bands.
That's really cool.
Yeah, Fear Factory was one of them. With earbuds, I still could not hear for 3 days. That's how loud it was. Yeah.
Yeah, the only big person that I saw when we were in college was Mike Jones.
Oh, Mike Jones.
Who? Yeah.
I've got a friend named Mike Jones, and every time I see him, I'm like, Mike Jones.
Yeah, he I don't know what frat it was. I had a buddy. It wasn't at the frat house.
Oh, okay.
No, I went to a frat house maybe twice my entire career at UT. But it was at the Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And he was at a frat house before that. And then one of my roommates, one of his good buddies from high school, was the president of this frat. And so he let us in to the Hill because it was reserved, private, and all that stuff. So he let us in. And we actually had a game the next day. And so I didn't drink at all.
Yeah.
And then you get to Pro Bowl, and it's like customary to have a beer or two the night after the game. And then you play the next day, and it's like no big deal. In college, we had a 24-hour rule, and I straight,
oh my God,
would never break it. There were definitely people on the team that would, and somehow those were always the guys that got 2 hits. But whatever.
But Mike Jones.
Yeah, Mike Jones at the Hill. And
whereas my dad and uncles tell stories about seeing like Alabama in the 70s when they were a bar band. Oh, hell, you probably don't know who Alabama is.
No, I know who Alabama
Okay, the
is.
country. I was going to say, you know country. But like they were a bar
Dixieland
band.
Delight, song about Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Garth Brooks cut his teeth on Cumberland Avenue like crazy.
I saw him in
stuff.
Nissan last year. But yeah, and Mike Jones, he's up there performing.
Yeah.
His mom's on stage behind him.
That's
and
great.
then like something happened in the crowd, and she made him stop playing and got off the stage. Yeah, and then I don't know if he went back on, but it was like 20 minutes later.
That's
and I
hilarious.
Just left. But,
That's hilarious. Mike Jones.
And like, I mean, he had, when I was middle school, high school, he had like probably 10, 15 huge hits. Like, I still listen to some of his stuff.
And guested on a lot of albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he was
crazy.
big. I mean,
Mike Jones. Playing ball at UT. Who was the coach at that point?
when I was there,
Yeah.
Serrano.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was I guess Raleigh. So when Delmonico got let go, Raleigh took over, and then it was actually kind of funny. I didn't even know that Tennessee had recruited me.
Oh,
Because
really?
they had talked to my dad, and my dad was
Okay.
like, "You're not going to go there and play there." There was some other stuff that was involved in that, but I had no idea that they were recruiting me. And then Raleigh got let go, and Serrano came back. Well, Serrano and my dad were really good friends because Serrano was here in, it was either 94 or 95. Mosiello was here. Either way, one of them was here 94, one of them was here 95. And so my dad became good friends with him, with both of them actually. And so when Serrano got the job here, I was his first commit.
Oh.
And he was the reason why I went to Tennessee.
That's awesome.
Because I was planning, I was going to go to South Carolina. Because they were really good at the time. They were just coming off 2 national championships 2 years before that. Ray Tanner, who's now their AD, legendary college baseball coach, was the head guy there.
Okay.
Holbrook, the assistant, was going to take over. And he had actually interviewed for the Tennessee job. And when we went on our visit to South Carolina, my dad asked Tanner that. He goes, "Hey, rumor is Holbrook's interviewing for the Tennessee job, might get it." And he looked at my dad, he goes, "He ain't going nowhere." He ain't going nowhere. And a year later, Tanner was the AD, and Holbrook got named the head guy at South Carolina. But yeah, it was Serrano, and then the assistant coaches were Mosiello, who I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now he is now the head coach at Ohio State, and then Greg Bergeron. So
Okay.
we were it was a California staff.
Okay. And was there commingling between the sports at that point? Because I feel like they started that VFL thing like in the late aughts,
Yeah.
maybe, and it felt like I would see more other teams or coaches at.
I think there's a lot more now than there was then.
Okay.
I'll say that. I'll see videos of Heupel and Tony, or
Yeah.
when we go to the tip-off club or the quarterback club,
Yeah.
and Barnes will speak. He'll talk about Heupel. He'll talk about Tony and that type of thing. So I think there's a lot more of that now. When we were there, they had the whole One Tennessee initiative.
Oh yeah.
And it was a load of crap. I mean, we would see all of the coaches were very isolated within their own sport.
Yeah.
Our coaches had a good relationship with like the softball coaches, but as far as like Butch Jones was here for football, and his reputation, and he was very much just football.
Which is wild, because my friend, I can't remember if I've told you this before. My friend is the women's tennis coach, Allison Ojeda.
Mm-hmm.
And so during the pandemic, they still had games, but they had you had to be on a list. So she was like, "If you want to come,"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'll come. I'll come and support." Hell, there weren't 40, 50 people there because it was just so limited, and so you had to sit separate, wear a mask, all that. But Danny White had just gotten hired.
Yeah.
And he was there. He had probably been there less than a week. And him and Rick Barnes were both there supporting the women's tennis. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the leadership at the university and in the athletic department is in such a better place than it ever was when we were there. And I say that about like the coaches and the One Tennessee initiative. It wasn't really the coaches doing, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just everything was so scattered. There was just no cohesion across the athletic department, where with Danny White, he wants every sport to be good.
Yeah.
I was at a lunch probably last year, and I'm not going to name any names, but someone that was involved with the athletic department was, I guess Danny White had asked them about one of the sports and, why we weren't better at that sport. And the other employee kind of just made a joke about it. Like, "Oh, well, it's just this, it doesn't really matter." And Danny White was like, "Then why do we have them?"
Yeah.
If we're not going to try and win at that sport, what's the point of having that sport here? And
which is so funny, because there were points where the only good team we had was the diving team.
Yeah.
There were years where I remember that, to where it's like, "Oh wait, our diving team is winning national championships."
Yeah.
But our football team is 5-7.
Yep.
And our basketball team is not doing really good.
And that's what has been so impressive about Danny White is every team is good.
Yeah.
I mean, and football, right? Top 25 the last 3 years, up to number 1 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Baseball, top 5 every year. Been to Omaha, I think 3 of the last 4. The 1 year we did, or 2 of the last 3. The 1 year we didn't go, we were number 1 in the country the entire year.
Yeah.
And that's just baseball, but that's a whole nother conversation. Basketball, Rick Barnes, top 10 program across the country the last 7-8 years. Women's basketball's fallen off a little bit for what that program is. If it's any other program, you're like, it's been a top 15, top 25 program every year. But because of what Lady Vols basketball is,
Well, same thing like softball, like last 10, 15 years.
So the softball team has been, I mean, they're always really good. Like when we were there was, their infield was, they had 3 All-Americans on the infield. Their second baseman was Lauren Gibson, shortstop Maddie Shipman, third baseman Raven Siobhan. Like all of them just crazy. Yeah. They just had, they ran into Oklahoma both of those years, and Oklahoma had the best pitcher in the country. And in softball, if you one like pitcher that just dominates, it's over. Yeah, it's not like baseball where baseball you got to have a lot of depth on the mound. Softball, you got one pitcher, you're good. Yeah, and that's how we were when we had Monica Abbott. Yeah, I mean, people didn't stand a chance. And
when I know both the tennis teams like constantly make it to the finals.
Both the tennis teams are really good. The golf team's top 25. I mean, the track team has been, I think, pretty dang good the last couple of years. I mean, you can tell just the leadership and how much they care about everything. And I guess they have like a all sports cup or whatever. And Tennessee just won that for the SEC. Oh. And it just factors in all of the various sports, and it's like a point system, and we had the most points and all that. I think the national championships will come. I don't know what sport.
Well, I know
I think Tony will eventually win one.
I think I just saw it on the football one where it was like the attendance last year was the most of any football team. Yeah. In the entire country.
I believe.
And it was like 1 point something million. I think it may have I guess it had factored in the bowl game.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there's levels to that, right? Yeah. You got to have the biggest stadium or one of, and you got to put the product on the field and everything, but
sellouts every game.
It's back to what we were talking about, the price of baseball tickets, the price of football. Like, I can understand it with football because there's only 6-7 home games, right? And Alabama comes, that's going to be a huge ticket if we're in the top 25. Georgia comes, huge ticket if we're in the top 25. Florida, you go down the list. Baseball, there's like 35 home games. Yeah. And you're playing a 3-game series, so even if Vandy comes or like this weekend, we're going to Kentucky, they're number 3, we're number 4. If that series was here, you're still playing 3 games against them. Yeah. So it's not like you're spending $500 on one game for Bama. Yeah. But the tickets would still be $150.
Basketball, I think what kills me, because even if it's somebody like we're playing, I don't know, Washington State or somebody who's not great, it's still like hard to get in. I was like, that blows my mind.
Yep. Supply and demand, and they're
mingling between the sports. Let's see. So you played all 4 years at UT?
I only played 3.
Okay.
Yep, I left after my junior year for the draft.
And you got drafted. Mm-hmm. So do you remember where you were at when you got drafted?
Yes, I do. The first time in high school, I was up at the outlets in Sevierville.
Okay.
It was day 3. Everything is just on the computer, and I got a call. Yeah. And it was the local scout, and he just called me and was like, "Hey man, watched you for the last couple of years. Super proud of you," and all this stuff. And I knew him a little bit. He was good friends with my dad because my dad was coaching and all that stuff, and they got a good relationship with scouts and whatnot. And but I was at Lids, and he was like, "Hey, Colorado Rockies are taking you in 32nd round." So I went and bought a Colorado Rockies hat.
Right place, right time.
Yep, right place, right time. And then the second time, leaving my after my junior year at UT, that story is a little bit crazier. So my agent was Scott Boras, who in the baseball world, you either love him or you hate him.
I recognize that name.
He's a very polarizing figure.
Okay.
He's kind of gotten grilled quite a bit this offseason.
Okay.
He's the agent that gets everyone very paid. We'll
Okay.
say that. He was A-Rod's agent, all of those types of players
Okay.
that they hold out and get massive contracts.
Okay.
That's him.
Yeah.
I can understand from a fan's point of view why they would not like him, but I also understand the business a lot better than the average fan,
Yeah.
and he's really freaking good at what he does.
Okay.
And there's a reason behind it. There's a lot that goes into it that the average fan does not see, other than them thinking that he is greedy.
Side note, did you watch the movie Air?
Yes,
About
like a month ago.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
And his agent is so slimy and crappy.
Yes. The entire movie they go without even showing Michael Jordan, which
Yeah.
is the craziest part about it.
That is, we walked out of the theater because it was like January when that movie came out. There's one of my friends who's a huge sneakerhead, and he works so hard that he does not want to go out, and he just wants to stay home with his wife. And I said, "Hey man, you don't have an option on this one. We're going.
Yeah.
You tell me when works for you."
Yeah.
So we went, and we walked out, and we stood out on Gay Street just talking about how amazing that movie was for like 30 minutes.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Dune 2 coming out, because I just saw the first one,
Okay.
and it was pretty good. It left me.
I got to go see the second one before it leaves theaters.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
Because in Shelby, we watched. It took her 4 days to get through the first Dune movie.
Okay.
We started at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and she just falls asleep 20
Okay.
minutes in. So I've watched it about 3 times now.
Okay.
But it left me with just enough to where I'm like really curious as to what's going to happen in the second one.
So I just got one of these on Blu-ray. I own the other ones. These new Planet of the Apes films are unbelievable. And there's about
How new?
Hell, I think this one's like 2013.
Okay. No, yeah.
2011.
Yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah. This one, the second one,
I've seen the first 2. I haven't seen the third one.
we were just talking about, my friends have a podcast called After Lunch where it's kind of a geek podcast, and they did like two or three of them get together. They've watched every James Bond film, and then they just talk about it for like 2 hours. And they just did the Planet of the Apes. They did all the old ones,
Yeah.
plus the TV show from the 70s, plus the Tim Burton one from the early aughts, which is awful. It's reprehensible. And then they've gone through these, and I told him, one of the guys was like, the second one is like my third favorite film from that decade.
Yeah.
I'm like a film nerd. That's like number 3.
We had
It is so arty.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it goes like first 35 minutes without one word being spoken.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember sitting in the theater and going, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. We had one of our teammates was obsessed with that movie series when we were in college, and it was one of mine and Andrew's really good friends. So we watched them all, and they are very good movies.
And the new one looks
They're so intense
great.
too, and
The new one looks great.
Yeah.
Because it's, I think, like 80 years past the third film.
Okay.
So it's the apes are actually taking over now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God.
It is the Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
now.
I can't wait. Yeah. Oh, God. What were you? Okay, so you're at Lids, Colorado Rockies, agent, your agent.
Yeah. So with the second draft after my junior year, the timing of it was really weird. So I didn't have a great year my junior year. I started off decent, went into a slump. Our hitting coach knew that he was not going to be retained. He stopped coaching, or not. He didn't stop coaching, but he stopped running the offense and just let us play more.
Okay.
And our other coach took over the offense. Well, the one that got let go was very small ball oriented. And I say this without any kind of braggadociousness.
Yeah.
I'm the career sack bunt leader at Tennessee with only playing 3 years.
Holy
If
crap.
you would have ever told me that beforehand, I never would have gone to
That's a
Tennessee.
That's a nutty stat.
And that's why I say it. And I'm not proud of that.
Okay.
I'm not proud of that at all. If I would have known that, I never would have gone.
Although that always makes me think of, I think we talked about the other day, that video from the I think it was the 80s, where the pitcher tried to hit him. So the next one he bunted, and he hit it in a way that and then he tackled the pitcher. That's still, every time that video comes up, I watch it like 4 times. It's like, oh my God, they were built different back then.
Yeah. So anyways, once the other guy started coaching and let us hit, I caught fire, hit really well. Like the last third of the season, I hit over 400. And I was playing really good defense. So my draft stock had gone back up. And I was supposed to be pretty highly drafted going into that year. Well, the person that replaced the coach that got let go was my dad.
Okay.
So they announced the first day of the draft that my dad was coming back as the coach, as the assistant coach. He was going to work with the infielders. I was an infielder, and he was going to be the hitting coach. I hit.
Yeah.
So my dream was to always go to Tennessee, but it was really to always go to Tennessee and play for him.
Okay.
And so that put us both in a really tough position.
Yeah.
So Boris and his group asked going into the draft, they're like, hey, what is the figure that it's going to take for you to leave after your junior year? And I told him a number that I thought I would have zero chance of getting.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to place myself out of it to where I didn't have a chance to get that number, and I didn't want to have to make that decision if I needed to go or not.
Yeah.
And because if I would have come back, they had told me that I would have been one of the top 2 shortstops in the next draft.
Holy crap.
But as a senior in the baseball draft, as a senior, you don't get paid hardly anything compared to the year before because you don't have any leverage.
Oh.
So
okay,
there will be seniors that get drafted in the 7th round where the signing bonus allotment for that pick is like $300,000.
Yeah.
They'll sign for $5,000. And so you run a risk of that.
God.
But being a shortstop in the premier position, if I'm one of the top 2 shortstops the next year, I'm going to be a first rounder anyways.
Okay.
And as a first rounder, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of risk and a lot of different variables that went into it. And then with my dad coming back, I really wanted to go back. And so I tell them this number, and this is why I think Boris is so great, is because I put a price tag on myself that I didn't think I had any chance to get, and they got it for me.
Wow.
And the whole draft process, because you have your coaches calling you, you have friends reaching out, you have local scouts calling you, you have the cross-checkers calling you, you have all of these different people calling you, and if you don't have good representation, which technically they're not your agent until you sign, if you do not have good advisors, representation through this process, it can be a nightmare.
How did you get connected with him?
After my freshman year, so I had a really good freshman year. I think I hit like 330 in the SEC play. I started my freshman year, and I led our team in hitting in conference play.
Okay.
I went up to Alaska that summer, led the league in average. I led the league in like 3 or 4 different offensive categories.
Okay.
Me and Kristen Stewart, who were at Tennessee together, still one of my best friends. He ended up being a first rounder, Team USA guy. Me and him were 1-2 in every offensive category in that league, and we were ranked the first and second prospects in that league.
Okay.
So there was a lot of momentum coming back from that.
Okay.
Sophomore year, I get off to a phenomenal start. I'm hitting like 400, and then I slump hard. But I had a unique skill set for shortstop with my athleticism, my height, and I had a really good arm. So I had the potential to be an elite defender, and if I could hit enough, it's just one of those things. And so Boris, I had a handful of agents reach out, and I went through a different process with it, and I was lucky because there was some guys in the big leagues that had played for my dad that of the agents that had reached out, all of them were represented by at least one of them.
Okay.
And so we talked to all of them, and then we sat down with the agents and all that stuff, and decided that Boris was the best for us. But they approached us, and that's kind of how it all went. And so my sophomore year on, they were my representation. But then, like the draft process, Boris and his group said, do not answer the phone for anybody except for us. We will handle everything. The area guys, the local scouts, they don't have any say what's going on in the boardroom. They don't have any say of how much you can sign for. The only thing that'll happen is if you answer the phone and you tell them one thing, they don't have any pull in that room. So if you say something wrong, it'll hurt you.
Yeah.
There's no benefit to talking to them. So it makes sense. Whereas like Andrew's experience, at the time, he ended up being a Boris guy. But at the time, through the draft, he didn't have that. And so he was answering calls from all these different people, and it was just, we had a totally different experience about it.
Well, you also had your dad.
I did, yeah. And that helped quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Because he had been through it and seen how a lot of his players had handled it and all that stuff. But then it comes down to the second day. So there's 3 days in the draft. And the way that it all works is it's very detailed. The first 10 rounds are considered slot, and then anything after the 10 rounds is allotted for $100,000. Anything that you sign over, any player that you sign over $100,000 has to be taken out of that slot money. So, like if you sign for $250,000 in the 12th round, $150 of that comes from that slot money, and you can't sign over the money that you're allotted.
Okay.
So when I told you earlier, seniors in the 7th round will get $5,000 instead of $300.
Yeah.
They'll take that $295,000 difference and throw it to guys that were drafted after the 10th round that had signability questions.
Yeah.
So they'll take it to that like a high school kid that was a fringe first, fringe second rounder that wanted $1.2 million.
Okay.
And they'll offer him $900,000. So that's kind of how it all plays out.
Okay.
But the risky thing about that is after the 10th round, if the team, the team that we were negotiating with was the Tigers, they told me, all right, we're gonna take you on day 3 with our first pick. They didn't. They took me in the 13th round.
Okay.
So there's 30 teams in the big leagues. I think 30. Yeah, 30 teams in the big leagues. 3 rounds of picks before that. 90 picks that anybody could have taken me. And if the Tigers hadn't taken me, the number that we had agreed to would have been off the table. So, like, if the Braves had taken me, and they would have only offered me X amount, but the Tigers were going to offer me this amount, I would have either had to sign for what the Braves were going to offer me or go back to school.
Okay.
So there's a lot of risk that goes into it, and it was a long, long, long couple days.
Remember you talking about when your dad saw Todd Helton get hurt and him lose a little bit of weight? Were you losing a little bit of weight?
He was more than me. Because again, I wanted to go back to school.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wanted to go back to school
yeah.
and play
That's
for
true.
him. So finally get the call. Hey, the Tigers are taking you. They've offered you X amount. What do you think? And it was the number I asked for.
Yeah.
And me, my mom, and my dad are sitting in the kitchen. And I say, honestly, I want to go back to school. Like, that's what I've always wanted to do. I said my dreams was always to play at Tennessee, but it was always to play at Tennessee for my dad. He's going to be back. I think I can make more money next year, blah, blah, blah. And my dad looks at me. He goes, what did they say? I said, they offered me my number. He said, hang up the phone. Tell him you'll call him back. Okay. Hang up the phone. He looks at me and goes, you're fucking taking it. I was like, okay.
Yes, sir.
Call him back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, we're going to go. And he was in a tough position because Boris wanted to keep everything secretive.
Yeah.
Because the less people that know is the better. And so, but that put my dad in a really tough position because he's on the staff at UT, and they're trying to prep for next year, all this stuff. Well, he's my dad first.
Yeah.
And so he had to keep everything that was going on behind the scenes with me and signing. He had to keep everything away from the staff too. And so they didn't even they didn't even let us tell Serrano until I was already down in Florida about to sign the contract.
Wow. Okay.
That, hey, I'm not going to come back next year. I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I'm signing.
But if they know the world, they had to know that was.
They had an idea.
Yeah.
And
an option.
we had 4 or 5 guys that were kind of in the same shoe as me. Same shoes as me. Andrew was one of them, and we had all been in a group text, and we were already planning on where we were going to live next year and all that stuff. And then I think all of us ended up deciding to sign.
Wow. Okay.
All of us except for one. So
you make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
You have your dad, but then you're going down to Florida away from him because he's up here coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Are there people that like reach out or are mentors to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about baseball is that you meet so many people.
Okay. And there were probably some former UT players, maybe.
Yeah,
too?
there were, and I mean, one of my dad's former players is officiating mine and Shelby's wedding.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
here in a couple months. So like it is really cool. Like when Chris Burke got inducted into the Tennessee Hall of Fame, me and my dad went to that, and it was really cool. The experiences I had growing up, the people I got to meet, the mentors that I got to have, how a lot of those guys treated me, and kind of molded me into the player and person that I am. And then, but with baseball, like I mentioned earlier, my freshman year, after my freshman season, that first summer, spent a summer in Alaska. So I'm playing with guys from all over the country there. The next summer, I go up to Cape Cod and play in the summer league up there. And that's where all the big prospects go, and guys are literally from everywhere.
That was going to be one of my questions later on is, had you traveled much before all of this? Like, or did you kind of stay in the South or stay in the region?
Well, for like baseball playing and all that stuff?
No, in general, like even like family trips and stuff. Was it a culture shock? I mean,
no, it wasn't. I mean, I traveled a decent amount with my dad when I was growing up. Like he would take me on the road trips and all that stuff. And so that was pretty cool. Alaska was definitely a little bit of a culture shock, but I loved it up there. Like I would love to go back in the summer. It was incredible. The Northeast was more of a culture shock than anything. I remember, I've born and raised in the South. We're up there, and I had 2 other guys from Tennessee on my team, and we're up there working out at the local gym before one of our games, and I hold the door open for a lady, and then she asked me a question, and I said, "Yes, ma'am," and she like jumped down my throat because I was being disrespectful because I said, "Yes, ma'am."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the exact opposite of disrespectful. So like that type of thing was a little bit of a culture shock. But,
okay.
As far as the biggest culture shock in pro ball was just you're not playing with just people from America anymore. You're playing with people that don't speak the same language. And that was hard. And I mean, it was hard for the American guys, but I can only imagine how hard it would be for the Latins. The Latin guys that would come up, and it's kind of like high school in a way where you have your own little cliques and all that stuff. And like, I mean, that's just natural, right? Like if I speak the same language as someone, I'm probably going to hang out with him more than I'm going to hang out with the guy that doesn't speak the same language as me, and vice versa. But I couldn't imagine having to come up to a country that you only know the baseball guys, your family's in a completely different country, and you don't speak the language of anybody that's here.
And you're also like
outside of the people.
Probably a 19 or 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, and some of them are younger than that.
That's nuts. Okay. So you have good mentors.
Yep.
What I'm trying to think how to ask it. Like how many different I'm going to ask a bigger question. You can figure out how to frame. How many different teams did you play for? What levels did you play for? Did you ever make it all the way up to the big show?
Never made it to the big show.
Did they ever take you, like, allow you to come up and watch games, or was that ever part of it?
Not in Detroit, no. Okay.
That stadium is also awesome.
Is it? I've never been. So.
I'm trying to. I think I'm trying to make it to every MLB stadium, and that one, it was just like, this is nuts. The hack of one of my friends told me, he was like, buy the cheapest ticket possible, then go on the MLB app, and 3 hours before the game they will release really good seats, and you pay like $20
that you just upgrade them.
So I sat in like almost like
it's
a
like getting the
Barca
extra leg
lounge
room on a Delta flight.
Yeah. I sat in like a lazy boy Barca lounger damn near in Detroit Tigers Stadium, and I was sitting around all these old people that I think were season ticket, because they kept looking at me like, "Who are you?" I was like, and they were offering food, and it was great.
That's awesome.
It's a great stadium.
We never got to go up there, but in spring training, I would go across and play on like the big league field with a lot of those guys, because they would bring in the minor league guys when the big leaguers were only going to play like 4 or 5 innings. So we were the guys that if you ever watch a spring training game that are like number 88, number 92, I was that guy. So, but that was cool. I mean, when I was first with the Tigers, they still had some really big name guys. I mean, they were still Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander, and those guys were all still there.
Beltray?
No, he was never.
He wasn't a Tiger?
Not when I was there. I don't think he ever was. Adrian Beltre?
Yeah. For some reason, I thought I was looking up when Jim Leland was the manager there. Cause
I did meet him. He would come
was he smoking a dart, as the Canadians say?
If he wasn't in the locker room, he was. Yes, he's an awesome guy. He doesn't have a filter, but he is he's just, in baseball we call it the ultimate clubhouse guy. Yeah. Because he just he brings such a good energy and is just always so uplifting.
Beltre and just played for the Dodgers, the Mariners, the Red Sox, and the Rangers. I don't know, for some reason I thought he played for the Tigers for a few seasons. I thought he played
for the Indians too.
This is Wikipedia.
Pirates, Dodgers, no, not Pirates. Pirates and Cubs was Ramos Ramirez, not Adrian Beltre.
Okay, so what levels did you play?
Yeah, obviously college. Professionally, I got up to AA.
Okay.
So I spent my first year with the whole draft process. When I told them no originally, it extended the process a little bit. So I signed about 3 weeks later than the rest of my draft class, because they wanted to come out, meet with me. I had a private workout here, actually at Grace Christian. And then I met the director of player development, I believe, and then Alan Trammell, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He came and watched me.
That's awesome.
He was the person that gave the final stamp of approval on them to sign me, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that was one of the mentors with the Tigers. He was a awesome guy.
Okay.
Just a really, really good human being. So played first full season, or first short season. Played short season for the first month and a half, and then that was in Norwich, Connecticut. Don't ever go there. There's nothing but a casino and a Subway. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It's not great there. And then at the time, the low A team was with West Michigan in Grand Rapids.
Oh.
Grand Rapids is beautiful.
Rapids is I went there for AIGA conference. What is there's a town just south of it that's a Dutch-sounding town. That's where all the Herman Miller furniture is made.
Yeah.
Holland. It was Holland.
Yeah.
Dutch. Of course. It's Holland, damn it. But yeah, I bounded about.
Yeah.
One of my favorite breweries is their Founders.
Okay.
Founders is amazing. They're in Grand Rapids.
I was there for a month and a half. It was to end the season. We actually ended up winning the championship, so that was a lot of fun. Got a ring out of it. Because we made it so far in the playoffs, I was not able to come back for the Tennessee-Oklahoma football game when Baker Mayfield was here.
Yeah.
And we got up, 3 touchdowns and ended up blowing it.
Yeah.
So I was at a sports bar with me, Kristen Stewart, who was the guy I mentioned earlier, and I know his name's the chick from Twilight.
No, I'm going to throw it back to Ben Wooler in Australia going, the girl who bites her lips in the Twilight sparkly vampire film?
Anytime we would go and play on the road, they would always put her picture up instead of his. Oh. And it's just such low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But he also hit 30 home runs a year, so he could just tell them, give him the bird pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so Grand
Rapids, and then Lakeland, Florida, which is where spring training is. That was our high A. I was there my first full season, had a decent year there. Second full season was in Erie and Double A. Had a solid season there.
That's the Monsters? Lake Erie Monsters?
The Seawolves.
Seawolves.
Yes.
Okay. Because
I know what you're talking about.
I think we've talked about, like, my buddy Adam and I are obsessed with
there was a
minor league baseball caps. So
you're thinking of Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But Vermont also beautiful if you ever get the chance together. That was another cool thing. Like most of the leagues that I played in were up in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. So like the Eastern League, which is Double A, it goes from Akron, Ohio, down to Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
All the way up to Portland, Maine.
Jeez. Okay.
So it was really cool. Got to spend some time in Richmond. There was a great barbecue spot there.
I hate to ask, buses? Are y'all going in buses? Oh,
yeah,
geez.
One charter bus. So from Erie to Portland, Maine was like 14 hours on a bus. It was brutal. So the way that they would do it, there was a team in New Hampshire, and a team in Portland, Maine. So you would have 2 off days. I think over the course of a 140-something game season, 142 game season, at the time there was only 10 off days.
Ooh.
And when you took this trip, you wasted 2 off days, 1 getting there, 1 coming back. So it wasn't even really like you had off days.
Oh, it wasn't even like 2 days and 2. Oh, geez.
No, it was 1. As soon as that first game was over, or the last game before that road trip starts, you bus it on up there and try and get there a decent amount of time.
Guys, add 5 days to this season and let us have 2 days in between these long-ass trips. Or plan stuff all along the way. Like,
right.
Oh, my God.
Let us go on like a 3-week, 4-week road trip and just hop around. I don't care, but it's better than a 13 and a 14-hour bus
Go talk
ride.
to high school kids. Mm-hmm. Do something. Okay, so that's...
So, yeah, there, and then after that full season, I went to the Arizona Fall League, which is a really big deal. It's invite only. Each organization sends 5 or 6 guys.
Because aren't there a lot of players that's where their residences are?
In Arizona, yeah. About 50% of the guys that play in the Fall League are big leaguers. Yeah. Or end up being big leaguers.
Because I've heard, like...
Me and Andrew Lee were in the 50% that are not big leaguers.
But I've heard, like, that... Man, I can't remember who I heard talking about it, but they're like, if you want to invest in something, invest in golf courses in Arizona, because it's all the guys who in the off season are out there playing golf. Yeah,
a lot of guys live there in the off season. Yeah. Well, because for baseball there's the Grapefruit League, and then I should know this, but there's the other league for spring training. Okay. So either all of the teams are in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Or all of the teams are in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so if Arizona's way better, by the way, for spring training. But if you're one of those teams that's in Arizona, a lot of those guys just buy houses out there and live there in the off season. And then, in the season you're traveling and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, there is a lot of people that live out there. But the Fall League was a month and a half. It was an incredible experience. We had, so each organization sends 5 or 6 guys, and there's 6 teams. So your team is filled with 5 organizations. So ours was the Cubs, the Tigers, the Astros, the A's, and there's one other one that I'm forgetting.
So you may have had some Smokies guys there.
Mm-hmm. So I did.
Yeah.
There were a handful of guys that were with the Smokies that year that were on our team. So we hit it off over that. With the Astros, we had, which, have you been following baseball at all recently?
Not that much.
Okay, so on our team it was Yordan Alvarez, who's the Astros, probably their best hitter. It was Kyle Tucker, who's probably their third best hitter.
Okay.
Both of these guys are going to end up being 20-year big leaguers. Framber Valdez, who was their number 2 behind Verlander now.
Okay.
Him, he's obviously a Latin guy. I think he was Dominican. He might have been Cuban. I'm not sure. But on days that he would start, he would control the speaker, and that was always how it would go, right?
Okay.
The starting pitcher got to pick what music was being played if they wanted to. He would do it and blast just the most upbeat Latin music possible.
So when I took you to La Esperanza, you were like, oh my God, I'm having flashbacks.
Not only would he do that, he would then put his Beats headphones on and listen to his own music and not let anybody change the speaker.
So I've mentioned that I boxed to you before.
Yeah.
And I helped hook up the stereo, the surround system in there. That's actually how I got introduced at that gym.
Okay.
And the lighting system. The guy I was friends with, he did that. I used to help, in high school, I used to help a guy who DJ'd at the Underground in the Old City, which is no longer, it's Fireside Lofts or whatever it is now. And I would carry his records in there for him. And then I would help him DJ parties in Lonsdale. And it would be, who is that white boy in the corner?
Yeah.
But him, I would help, and he got this job setting up this. I went and helped him, I think summer between high school and college, and went in there and was setting things up. Well, then when I fought, I would pick out my walkout music, and I would always play around with it because I knew what everything did. So one time, I was like, I'm going to mess with the dude. So I had a towel over my head and headphones in, listening to Tupac at the loudest I possibly can. And then over the speakers, it was Celine Dion. And I just walked up and saw the dude's eyes going like, what is happening? He's going to kill me. And I tried not to laugh, like, because it was so funny. But it was like, it's all coming back to me now. Celine Dion pumping through the speakers. And I'm just like,
Just getting
just
in the zone.
angry, you know, stuff. Was it the veins popping out of my neck? And he was like, he's crazy.
This guy's an absolute psychopath.
Yeah, he's doing this Celine Dion.
Lock him up and throw away the
So
key.
I'm with him. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. The other guys in the clubhouse were not with him.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. I loved it out there. It was really cool. I mentioned earlier I got to play in Alaska and the Cape and all that stuff, and but after that I didn't play great out there. The next year I started in AA again. Was up in AA for about half the season. Struggled offensively, got sent back down to High A. Was down there for about 3 weeks. Played really well. Got called back up for about 2 weeks. Somebody came off the IL. Needed another spot on the roster, so they sent me back down. I stayed down there the rest of the year. The next year, I started in High A, got up to AA for a couple weeks, and it was kind of the same thing. Okay. So then at that point...
How old were you at that point?
I was 21 my first full season, 22 second, 23, so I was 24.
Okay.
Turning 25 that year. So I guess I would have been 25. And that was in 19. Yeah, so I would have been 25, 26. I had made up my mind because I wasn't going back up to AA. I wasn't going to make it to the big leagues. And I kind of had just...
Were there people you could talk to? Like, I assume your dad, but I mean,
talked to my dad quite a bit.
Yeah.
Our agent, you could talk to him. Other than that, it's really just talking to your buddies about it.
Yeah.
Some of your teammates you get really close with, and all that stuff. And there's some other guys that are in the same boat. So like there was one or two other guys that, he had been up in AA a little bit as well, and he was a year older than me, I think. And then we both got sent back down to high A. And our manager in high A at that time was awesome. We loved him. He was my manager in short season my first year. And I think he's the third base coach for the Pirates now, but just a rock star of a guy. And so we just had fun with it. We both knew like our chances of making it were probably not great. I knew I wasn't probably not going to come back next year and play. And so we just said, screw it. I grew out a mustache. I had our strength coach had a huge chain.
Yeah.
And so I started wearing the huge chain.
Oh my God.
I wore a wife beater under my jersey, had it unbuttoned. Like, we just didn't care.
Yeah.
We were just there to have fun and enjoy it while we could. And the next year rolled around, and I, like I said, I didn't think I was going to make it. I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I just made a business decision. I was like, I'm tired of seeing my signing bonus go down, or like spending that money, because you don't get paid crap in the minor leagues. And so my signing bonus was going down. My chances of making it to the big leagues were going down. Still had a year and a half of school that I had to complete to get my degree. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back. And then a day before I called the next year for spring training was when COVID hit and they sent everyone home.
Oh, so somebody made the decision for them.
Well, so 2020, 2020, they didn't have a season in the minor leagues.
Oh, really?
And so we filed unemployment, and I got to stay on the insurance and all that stuff, and started taking online classes, and they paid for that. And so it kind of was a blessing in disguise in that sense. I mean, I know not many good things came out of COVID, but in my situation, it kind of worked out, and ended up going back to school and graduated a year earlier than I probably would have. So
okay, I'm gonna go back to the minors. Was there any city in particular that stood out to you? Not necessarily where you played, even where you visited. Was there? Well, you said kind of Alaska.
Alaska was awesome. That's the coolest thing about baseball is you get to meet people from all over. Like, one of the groomsmen in my wedding is from Lodi, California.
Okay.
Me and him hit it off and became really, really close when we were in Alaska. Kristen Stewart, the guy I was telling you about, he's a teddy bear. He's this huge, just like jacked guy. Very soft-spoken, though.
I gotta look this guy up.
Yeah.
Spelled the same way?
No, it's Chris and then Tin.
Oh, Christian.
But without an Kristen.
Okay.
Yeah, so Chris and then Tin. And then Stewart.
There it is.
Yeah.
Baseball outfielder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's probably 6 foot, 5'11", but he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Like he's put together. But he's just a giant teddy bear, like the nicest guy in the world.
Okay.
And so our first couple weeks in Alaska, we're up there, we're working hard, we're going in there for early hitting, all this stuff, and we're crushing it. And there was a couple days where we stopped going for early work, and we started struggling. And Gio, the guy from Lodi, California, he looks like Tarzan. Like, I mean, he is a Greek god. He's like 6'4", 235, 240, good looking dude. Just like he fits he's your prototypical big leaguer. Like, if he walked in to your front door, you'd be like, so what sport do you play?
Yeah.
And so he was kind of the same way though. Like, he started struggling a little bit, and we lose a game or two, and BT, the manager, after the game, he got what he referred to as the ass. He got the ass and just was wearing into people, and we lost back-to-back games, and he comes in there and just starts chewing us out. He looks at this guy named Brendan Farney. He played at California. He's a little Samoan dude, short, fat Samoan dude. Awesome guy. And he's just going down the list, and he's like, Farney, like, when everything's going good, you're a good player. But when you're not playing good, you're just a fat piece of shit that's taking up a spot in the lineup.
Wow.
And then he goes to And then he goes to the next guy, and it's Gio, and he's like, Gio, and if you walk up to the plate again, you're up there walking, looking like Tarzan and swinging like Jane. Like, get your head out of your butt, all this stuff.
I wonder how long he had that in his
Oh,
back
my
pocket.
God. And then
I'm going to say this to him at one point.
And then he goes to me, and he's just like, and AJ, like, you're just a big, bad SEC player. You're going to get drafted high just because you're in the SEC, and you're going to be overrated, and you're not worth this, and you're not worth that, and blah, blah, blah. And and this is in front of the entire team.
Yeah.
And we've been there a couple weeks, and I was like, you know what? Like, okay, if that's what you think, that's fine. I'm going to prove you wrong. And that night, Gio texted me and was like, well, I'll go back a little bit. So he said all that. He slams the door, and the manager's office is where your like that lamp and the bookcase in there would be, and there's just a plywood, like a piece of plywood drywall that's blocking it, and there's a door, and he shuts the door. And then this one guy on our team, his name's Gavin, he stands up and he goes, man, FBT, this and that. And BT opens up the door and he goes, what the F did you just say? As if he couldn't hear him. He's 10 feet from you. And he goes, oh, I mean, I'm just saying, like, screw that. Like, we're better than we're playing. And just completely tucks his tail. And it was hilarious. But that night, Gio texts me and was like, dude, screw that. Like, and he sends me this long novel.
Yeah.
And that was how we became, like, best friends. And still to this day, incredible friends. He's going to be a groomsman at my wedding. And the next day, BT pulled me aside and he put his arm around me. He's like, dude, I know you're working hard. I just had to make an example of you in front of the team. Yeah. He's like, I can't call out Stewie. He's the nicest guy in the freaking world. What am I going to – I can't yell at him.
You're too nice.
Yeah.
You're too nice.
So I was like, all right, that's fine. And he's like – and then he's still one of my favorite coaches. Like, we're boys, but it's just things like that. But in Alaska, like, they took care of us. We got to go whitewater rafting. We went on a glacier hike. We'd go moose hunting after games. Not like physically hunting, but we'd be in like 2 little charter vans. Yeah. Because we'd have like 45-minute drives. And we would just drive in the middle of nowhere looking for moose and all that stuff. And that's amazing. Like when I was in Arizona, we had a couple days off. So we went up to the Grand Canyon and did all that type of thing. And went to Sedona. And then when I was in Erie for the All-Star break, it was like a 4-day All-Star break. So we went up to Toronto, and we just stayed in Toronto for a couple nights, and then came back. And I'm drawing blank. What's the huge waterfall?
Niagara.
Yeah, and we went to Niagara Falls, and like so I got to do a lot of that stuff and just meet so many different people. That was the coolest part about it. But yeah, got up to AA. And
what were some of the challenges? Was it hard, kind of the road dog of it all? Or did you just get used to it after?
No, I mean, that part wasn't bad. The last like month, you would get really tired. Yeah. Because 140 games, I don't care how non-demanding baseball looks, 140 games is very physically draining. And it's mentally tougher more than it is physically, especially when you're playing every single day. And if you have 1, 2, 3 bad games in a row, like it gets pretty daunting and pretty taxing. And you don't have time to work on things to like get out of a slump. You get out of your slump by playing in more games.
You're like, I'm going to be in a bus for 14 hours. Yeah. Tomorrow driving to freaking Maine.
Yeah. And so like that part was pretty challenging. And then like I said, the last month of the season, because like halfway through the first half, it's not bad because it's like, all right, I have this much like in front of me. Yeah. You just kind of go numb to it. But like the last month, you kind of start feeling that it's the end, and it starts dragging and your body starts shutting down. So that's when physically it gets hard then. But the 140 games mentally, it's just so challenging.
Was it hard trying to find a balance of the work-life balance of being a professional athlete and managing like family or friends or home? Like, did this still feel like home when you were out on the road or living in another city?
Knoxville will always be home for me.
Okay.
It always has been and always will be. And I was talking to someone about this the other day. They're like, have you ever thought about getting out of Knoxville? And I was like, that's what baseball was.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people that I went to high school with, college with, that are from Knoxville, they've all moved and gone to Nashville or gone wherever, and the majority of them all say, or all have moved back or want to move back.
Yeah.
It's just a great spot. And I got that out of my system through baseball. So like I never had the desire to move away.
Okay. Okay. When did you meet Shelby? Like, was that post career or?
I met her in high school.
Okay.
I was a senior. She was a freshman. I was at one of my buddy's houses, and he had a basement. And he's like, "Oh, I know a couple of these girls. Like, let's go sneak out and hang out with them." I was like, "Okay."
High school stuff.
Yeah, I had no idea who any of them were. Yeah. I was kind of a loser in high school.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I wasn't, but I was. Like, I was very, like I said, I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. I didn't really go to any parties, do any of that stuff. All I did was baseball, or my best friend Jordan Newby would come over and we would play Mario Kart on GameCube until 3 a.m. And that was it. I didn't really do hardly anything. And so I didn't know a whole lot of people outside of Farragut from any of the other schools unless I played baseball with them. Well, my other buddy, he was connected to everybody. I don't know if it was Facebook or what it was, but he just knew all the girls everywhere and was just friends with everyone. And so he was like, yeah, let's go sneak out and we'll go over there and hang out with them. And I was like, sure, why not? We're at his parents' house. And that was when I met her. And then we just kind of stayed friends. Nothing ever like...
Yeah. It wasn't like long distance when you were in sports.
No, I didn't. We didn't start dating until I was done playing baseball.
Okay.
Which is, honestly, if we would have dated before that, probably wouldn't have worked out.
Oh.
Baseball was just challenging on that end. It takes a very special person to be able to handle. Not the guy, but it takes a very special woman to be able to handle the demands of the minor league lifestyle.
Yeah.
You get to the big leagues, you get to the top level, and it's still challenging, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot easier because the money's there. She can quit her job, she can go.
I tell you one word, it's weird where that actually does work. Hockey.
Really?
Like, I'm a big hockey fan, and you meet a lot of hockey people. And a lot of the people there in relationships or married, it's like, oh, yeah, they were my high school sweetheart. And and it's like, you're 28 and playing for the Ice Bears. Like,
I think if it's like that, we're a high school sweetheart, and like you know each other very well going into it, I think that's great. Like that
may be the ones that can make it work. Yeah.
Or like you've been dating for 2-3 years in college and they've gotten acclimated to it. Like I dated a girl after my second off season. I met her in like November or December. Started dating. Well, we had only dated for 2-3 months going into it. And so it was just a very rude awakening for her because when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And the schedules are backwards too, right? So like the girl will be working a 9 to 5 or depending on what her job is, but most of the time it's a 9 to 5 or like dental hygienist, you're 7 to 4.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting to the field at noon at 1 or noon to 1 o'clock, and I'm not leaving the field until 11:30 p.m.
Yeah. And
then I got to wind down after that. Well, you're in bed, and it's just like you're
playing tag.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And the female has to be very understanding of the mental demands of it too.
Yeah.
And like, hey, I've got to be all in on this, or I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
And if it's not going good,
it may affect your work.
Yeah. So it's challenging. I mean, I've seen both sides of it. I've seen people that have crushed it and no big deal. I've seen relationships that have not worked out. I've seen some scummy teammates do some scummy things. But I will say, like, a lot, don't get me wrong, there are some not so great guys that play baseball, but there are also some phenomenal humans that do.
Yeah.
it's not all just the scummy and
this is
grimy professional athlete.
So with the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing, like there's a friend of mine that's the biggest Taylor Swift fan in the world.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about
and
her.
talking to her and having to explain to her, I was like, the athletes that you saw when you were a kid are not the athletes of today. Like I remember there was a team, it was Grant Williams' team at UT basketball. They all loved playing board games.
Yeah.
They were dorks. Like, God love them. They were nerds. And I was like, there's a lot of players now that they're go home and playing Mario Kart is their dream. They're not the 80s guys or the 90s guys that were, let's go to the strip club. Let's do a rail of Coke. Like, that kind of
There's
stuff.
still plenty of that, too.
There's still, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel
There's some degenerates for sure.
I feel like since everything is accounted for on here, there's a lot of people's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
There were so many of my teammates that, and it was when I was playing, it was right when Fortnite got big too.
Oh yeah.
And so there's like, we spent a lot of time on the sticks playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And you'd be so jacked up from the game that you would be up till 2, 3 in the morning, and you wouldn't have to wake up until 11 o'clock the next night or the next day. So it wouldn't matter. And so, and spring training especially, because you're done at like 2, 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
So you'd come home, probably take a nap because you're exhausted from being in 100-degree weather, and then and being up at 6 in the morning, and then.
So the biggest thing for me, I think 2-a-days killed me for football because it would be August here, and it was the 90s, so it was don't be a pansy.
Yeah.
Don't drink any water. And every morning.
Remember the Titans quote? Water's for getting blood off my uniform, and you don't get blood on my uniform.
I would get done with two.
To answer your question earlier about favorite movie, that's still probably my favorite movie.
Okay, remember
that and Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh my God.
Ha!
He just made all that up. I think Scorsese, the story I heard was Scorsese had just left the cameras rolling and he started doing that, and Leo was like, I guess we're doing this.
Did you know in the Django movie, or sorry,
Django,
the D silent Django, Leo actually cut his hand in that scene.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And kept going through
it.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino is probably my favorite director. His movies are, they're a lot, and there's.
So you're not going to like this. I am not a Tarantino fan. My favorite Tarantino film is Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
And that's the one that.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
God, it's slow.
Yeah.
It's not this. But we would leave 2-a-days. My grandmother would pick me up. She would take me to Crystal's, and I would get 2 chicken sandwiches, a thing of fries, and a Coke. I would eat all that, and then I would sleep. And then I would usually go at a certain point, she would pick me up again, and I would go and lift, and then go to practice that night.
Yeah.
And I would just lay on the couch and watch movies.
Yep.
And nap in and out. So for like the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long 2-a-days were, it was just like, God, I don't know what is up and what is down. I'm either at practice sweating and feeling like I'm going to die, or I'm asleep on the couch.
Yep.
With Crystal chicken sandwiches in my belly. Yeah. Do you have anything from each of the teams that you played for? Like the cap or anything?
I think I still have a hat from everything. I bought my West Michigan and my Connecticut jerseys. So at the end of the year, you can buy it for like $50 or something. Oh. So I did that. Never did Lakeland. I was stupid, and when I played in the fall league, so when you're in the fall league, you get legit, like, whatever your big league team is, you get legitimate jerseys from them. Crap. Okay. Name, stitched, like everything. And so I had 2 of those, but they asked for them back. And me being the idiot that I am, actually gave them back and put them in my bag and like gave them back to them. Other guys just kept them, which way smarter. And my dad, probably a year ago, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he just Googled me or what, but my fall league jerseys were on eBay. Huh. And so they were like $100.
Okay.
And he bought one of them. And he told me to buy the other one, and I just never got around to it. It's, for all I know, it's still probably up there because it's completely worthless.
Let's see.
But I'm going to shadow box the one that I have and put it in the and the man cave, which is the one room in the new house that Shelby's actually letting me have some kind of say in. So.
You and Kevin got to talk at work because Kevin's like, I have to get rid of all of this stuff.
Yep.
Oh, it is still there. It is buy it now for $119, $10.80 shipping.
There we go.
You also, your West Michigan Whitecaps, a signed jersey is $69.99 up top. My brother, nice. It was $99.99. It's now $69.99. That's a sponsored post. Oh, and then here's baseball cards.
Okay.
Hell, here's a jersey baseball card.
What?
No, who is that?
That can't be me.
Oh, it's who is that? It's an Aaron Judge one. How did that search?
That's a little different.
Well, it has AJ in the number. It has to
be the AJ, yeah.
It's in the result matching fewer words.
Mm-hmm.
What a weird. But there is one here. West Michigan Whitecaps.
West Michigan was a really fun place to play.
But yeah, there are some here. Minor league baseball cards of yours. Oh, there you are. The Lakeland Flying Tigers.
Yep.
Smiling like a goofball. Okay,
accurate.
so the pandemic hits, you decide you're going to move. Now, when you went back to college, had you been on a track for something, or did you know kind of what you wanted to get a degree in?
I had no idea what I wanted to do. I originally went and I was a business major. Hadn't declared what specifically, but I was business major. And then I took accounting and took it in the middle of season when we're traveling a lot. So I missed a handful of classes. You get behind in accounting, you don't have a chance to catch up.
God. Yeah,
or at least I did not have the discipline to give myself a chance to catch up. And I ended up getting a D in that class, which, come to find out, if you're a sports management major, is a passing grade. So
remember what you said earlier about they'll help you through?
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I didn't want to do Spanish. I was just terrible at Spanish, which is kind of ironic because half my teammates ended up speaking Spanish. But so I switched majors to sports management with a minor in business. And then when I went back to school the second time, at this point, Jason was kind of a mentor to me already.
Oh, okay.
I knew him pretty well through the off season. He'd have us over and we'd drink some bourbon, smoke some cigars, hang out at the fire, and do all that fun stuff. And
in that 1, 2, 3, 4 humidors.
There we go.
Right there.
I bet you got some nice stuff in there. The Tampa Nugget.
Oh no.
Is that a?
So I keep the band of every cigar I smoke. And
I remember you telling me that.
I have like 4 boxes in the basement.
That's cool.
And that's my current, what I put. There's also a travel humidor. Here, now I got to stand up. So my buddy Sean, this is my travel bag with me, with a can, an ash can. But my buddy made this. You put this down, you lay your cigar on top of it. He just has some extra wood. He was like, I'm just going to make this.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And here's one that's funny because we work together. This was on sale from Kentucky Loves Kentucky for like $2.
You should bring that to the office.
It's rubber. And I was like, how is this going to work with cigars, man? I feel like it's going to melt. Okay, so Jason was a mentor.
Yeah, and I kind of I had a couple other life mentors throughout as well, but I got different people's opinion, and one of the smart things we did when I was getting drafted is I didn't know when I was going to go back if I was going to stay with sports management or if I was going to switch back to business.
Okay.
So when you leave after your junior year, the organization, or you work it into your contract when you sign, that they will pay for X amount of semesters of school.
Oh, nice.
And it's your school and your board, your room and board. And so not knowing if I was going to need 2 semesters with sports management or 3 with business, I got 3 years added in, or 3 semesters added into the contract.
Nice.
So they ended up having to pay for schooling and then the room and board as well. And
was there thoughts of doing something in baseball, or did you just want to kind of move on at that point?
I think there would have been some opportunities. I think if I would have approached the Tigers and asked them, I think that was part of the reason why they didn't release me.
Yeah.
Was because they thought I was a good clubhouse guy and knew the game really well and all that. So I think if I would have approached them, I could have had an opportunity as a coach.
Yeah.
I looked at potentially going the sports agent route.
Yeah.
Ultimately decided not to. And then as far as coaching, I didn't want to do it. One, I was burnt out pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I fully resented baseball, but when I got done playing, there was a year or two before I started watching it again.
Okay.
And I also knew, with my dad being a coach, what all that involved, which I loved my childhood. It was incredible. But my dad coaching at the same school for 17 years doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
And I did not want a life when I do have, I'm getting married in a couple months, so I have a family. But when I start having kids and stuff, I did not want a life that I was constantly moving from city to city, or in pro ball, I'd be gone 7 months out of the year. I just didn't want that.
Okay.
And so I knew there were other ways to go about life, and I was just kind of ready to close that chapter.
Okay.
I mean, would it have been cool? Yeah. Could I have made a lot of money doing it if I really put my mind to it? Potentially. I mean, you're seeing what some of these top coaches are getting paid now in college baseball.
But also having to deal with NIL and transfer portal.
Oh, it's a headache. And that's I would have loved for NIL stuff to be a thing when I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have made $150,000, $200,000 or anything like that. But I was a local kid. I started all 3 years at the premier position for baseball. And so I think I would have made a
good chunk.
Yeah, at least 5 figures, which at 19 years old, pretty nice.
It'd be dangerous.
Yeah, especially when I'm not out there blowing it on beer and stuff,
Yeah.
So what I really wish was that the transfer portal was there when I was, because Coach Mosiello was at UT my freshman year, and he was my guy. Like I said earlier, he's the head coach at Ohio State now, and he was part of the reason why I went to UT as well. My dad knew him well. He was on staff at Tennessee for 1 year with him, and he's been all over. But he was just like, my freshman year, he was the guy I did all of my hitting with. When I was really playing well, it was because I was working hard with him.
Yeah.
When I wasn't at bat, when we were on offense, I was sitting next to him talking the game, like, hey, 2-0 account right here, what pitch are you expecting? Hey, this situation, what would you do if you're running the offense? Like, just constantly picking his brain.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was his player and he was my coach, And after my freshman year, he left and went to TCU as the associate head coach there. And so if the transfer portal would have been a thing, I probably would have left and gone to TCU and followed him.
Okay.
And they went to Omaha both years, so that would have been a lot more fun.
And you could have had Ralph's Donuts.
Yep. I don't even know what that is, but I could have been a Horned Frog.
Ralph's Donuts is a place over there that it's tremendous.
Yeah.
Old school donut place.
Yeah.
It's me. It's got to involve donuts. Like I got to wrap them in sometime.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, are there any lessons you learned in the sports career that have translated beyond baseball?
I mean, yeah. I think pretty much like, the generic, the work ethic, just the drive, the self-discipline, all of those different types of things, how to handle failure, how to push through, all of that, how to manage different teammates, how to lead, the cohesiveness that you need for everything to succeed.
Yeah.
Like you look at the really good teams, everything is cohesive. Like everything works.
Yeah.
Everything's going in the same direction. You're not trying to push a rope,
Right.
Everyone's pulling, no one's pushing.
Yeah.
So those types of lessons for sure. And then just with it. It's the relationships that you make, how you can nurture them, and that's just life too. I mean, networking, meeting new people, and shaking hands, you know.
Is it shaking babies, kissing hands?
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give other athletes who are transitioning out of professional sports?
Oh, man. I mean, it's tough. It is what people talk about, like with the mentorship program that we're doing through the AGC.
Yeah.
That was one of the things when we were doing introductions. That was one of the things that I said is just how important it is to prepare yourself post sports. Because there's some guys that, you know, they make it to college and they know that that's the top that they're going to get, right? They're not going to go past that. That wasn't my situation. You know, I always had the potential to make it to the big leagues.
Yeah.
And that's, you make it to the big leagues and you stick around for a while.
Yeah.
You're never getting a job
Yeah.
outside. Like, you just don't have to unless you're just super bored.
Yeah.
I like golf. I probably wouldn't be bored. But so like mentally preparing yourself for that, and always it's challenging, and you kind of, I don't want to say you fall behind, because there's a lot of things that you learn through the game that really relate to the real world.
Yeah.
But there is a transition period for sure. I mean, when I went back to school, I didn't have anything on my resume other than sports. Like, I never had in baseball. We already talked about it. My first summer, I was in Alaska. Second summer, I was in the Cape. As soon as I got back from the Cape, the next day we had our first team meeting, went straight into class. Jeez. Have practice all fall, season all spring. As soon as the season's over, you might have 3 days before you go and play summer ball. So you never have time to get any kind of real-world experience as far as like business, internships, making those connections.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the one thing that I would really suggest is just, I hate the term NIL because it is what it is in the sports realm, but I think athletes need to utilize that for the business portion of it while they still can, while people care about Andrew Lee when he's in college, Kristen Stewart while he's in college, while it's cool to meet that person. I think that's what they really need to utilize is learn how to network and fully use your platform at that point.
This is something I will hammer home about, even in my world, like art or anything. It's like artists, graphic designers, marketing people should be taking business classes.
Yeah.
Because there's so many touch points in business that if you do not know how to file quarterly taxes, like there's so much stuff that they should be learning other than how to lay out the cover of this DVD or Blu-ray. Yeah.
There's so much more to it than just the talent part of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things you talked about, the NIL, and like with me coaching, it's something like in the transfer portal, like I see why it's a good thing, and I do think that those athletes should be able to make money and monetize their NIL. I think there needs to be limits to that, as far as there needs to be some kind of structure. The way it is right now is everyone's on a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
There's a reason why in professional sports people sign multi-year, long-term deals, because if everyone's on a 1-year contract, that is not sustainable in professional sports. And so you're running into that issue right now, and I think they're eventually going to have to figure out a way, whether it's through a players association and you have a commissioner, they're going to have to figure out a way to hone that in. And I don't know if it's going to be with the salary cap, if it's going to be everyone makes X amount of money, which I think that's going to be hard to do because you've already made it NIL to where it's based off your name, image, likeness. You can get paid whatever you can get paid. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to have to, I think the transfer portal is going to go away, because I think what's going to end up happening is that you're going to have guys sign when you're out of high school. You have the option. We'll offer you a 1, 2, 3, 4-year contract. Whatever you whatever you sign is what you have to abide by.
Yeah.
So you might have these top recruits that are top 15, top 20 in the country getting $1 million, and they might say, screw it, I'm just going to take a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
I'll take that $1 million, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go after that. Well, what happens if you get stuck on the depth chart and you don't play?
Yeah.
Well, that, you could have had a 2-year, $1.5 million contract. Well, now that second year, you might have to transfer from Tennessee to ETSU
Yeah.
to go play, or you probably wouldn't have to do that, but you might only get offered $100,000 because you didn't even play.
Yeah.
And so I think there's gonna be some kind of multi-year contract or whatever to do it. But like the part that people don't talk about is the academic portion of it. There's no way these kids are going to be on pace to graduate. No way, because I've seen, like, when we had kids coming in that would be JUCO kids, some of their credits wouldn't even transfer over, and so they had 1 year at a normal school at a 4-year institution, went to a JUCO for the second season, and then went to Tennessee for the third season, and they were barely a sophomore coming into Tennessee, and that's just going the JUCO route. That's not even going from Tennessee to TCU to Ohio State to Nebraska or wherever, like that's something that's completely falling through the cracks that people aren't talking enough about. And 90% of the kids aren't going to make enough money for them to not need their degree. And
also they're kids.
And they're kids. Like,
so they're not making the best decisions.
No, and I don't know the whole situation with like the Jonas Adu thing. Like him entering the portal. But that's the perfect example, and Awaka's the same way. Tyler Barron, same way.
Yeah.
These guys that have been here for 4 years and are fan favorites, when you enter the transfer portal and you leave to go make an extra $100,000, you're burning a lot of the bridges that you had. And so the name, image, likeness that you're getting paid for is shattering at the place you've just left. That you were the fan favorite, and you could go into if you didn't make it in professional sports, you come back and everyone loves you.
Yeah.
The kids aren't thinking of it in that term either. And it's just, they need good guidance. They need better advice. And it does seem like a lot of money. Like there's a big difference between making $250,000 at Tennessee for your senior year or $400,000. And it's hard to tell a kid, hey, you're 22 years old, $150,000. That can go a long way, but
it can also damage your brand.
Yeah. And it could also set you back long term if you did want to come back to Knoxville or Tennessee and one of the big donors on campus. Hey, I remember my kid loved you. I would love for you to come work here. Nah, you left.
You cut and run.
Yeah.
For short-term money.
Yeah. And a lot of professional athletes go broke too.
Have you ever seen the ESPN 30 for 30 broke?
Mm-mm.
It's awesome. This guy, Billy Corbin, he's done a few of those 30 for 30. He did the first one on the U about the University of Miami football in the 80s, which is great. Then he did one on the U Part 2, I think it was called, when they came back in like the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
What's that quarterback's name? Because they came here and smoked us. Big white guy.
Dorsey?
Yeah. Like
Ken Dorsey, I think.
He did a second one on that era.
Yeah.
But then he did one called Broke. It was about professional athletes going broke. And it's fantastic.
Well, people don't realize. I'll use Fernando Tatis as an example. So he just signed I think like a 14-year, $360 million contract with the Padres a couple years ago. In that, there are agents that take advantage of Latin American players to where, hey, we'll give you $2 million now when you're in the minor leagues. In return, we're going to get 25% of your career earnings. Jeez. He signed a contract like that. And so out of that $365 million, 50% of that, he's in California, 50% of that's gone to taxes.
Yeah.
So then you're at $180 million already.
Yeah.
An additional 25% of that 360 is going to that agent. So that's what, another 90 million. So then he's at what, 160, 90. That's 70 million right there.
Yeah.
And then 5% agent fee.
Yeah.
So in those 12 years, that's only, I mean, don't get me wrong, only 65 million, but 65 million is a lot less than the 360 million.
That's because it's also optics. It's not what the public sees.
Yeah, and then think of all the other stupid stuff he's spending money on
Yeah.
and like doing all of that with, like it. You can kind of see how guys go broke so quick.
Well, and the big thing about the broke was there are guys that come out that they all of a sudden they get that contract and they have a lot of cousins, they have a lot of buddies that they're taking care of,
Oh yeah.
and it's insane. Yeah.
There were guys that when we were playing in the minor leagues, and when I was playing, they've changed it since then, but when I was playing, if you didn't have any big league time, you weren't on the 40-man, you weren't on a free agent contract, you were still on your draft contract.
Yeah.
In AAA, the highest level, you made $2,100 a month before taxes.
Jeez.
And you didn't get any, they didn't pay for living, you didn't get paid in the offseason, nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why signing bonuses are so important.
Yeah.
But that's also why I said earlier, I got tired of seeing my signing bonus go down.
Yeah.
With my chances to make it to the big leagues go down. But we would have kids that were from Venezuela, from the Dominican, from Mexico, from Cuba, all of these places, and they would be making the $1,800 a month, and they would send $400 or $500 a month of that back to their families.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
they may have grown up poor to where 1,800 was so much money that they could take the hit and it not affect them.
oh, for sure. I mean, that money goes way further there.
Yeah.
$400 here
Yeah.
versus $400
Yeah.
there. I mean, that's like sending $40,000-$50,000 back.
Yeah.
In some places,
In some places, yeah.
legitimately is.
What is it? The one place, Belize? There's some friends of mine that they went to Belize and they were just like, we may work for 3 more years and just move down.
Yeah.
Like, it was so insanely cheap down there. They were just like, we can be like tour guides. We can do something down here, make a little bit of scratch.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I would always be scared to go places like that. Well, we went there on cruises and whatnot, but places that are really poor like
impoverished.
that, yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen, and you got to stay in the right places.
I was going to say
or
that's
else
the big thing.
It can be dangerous.
I've always heard of like people taking trips to like Jamaica and stuff. They're like, yeah, but you're staying on the grounds of the, what is it called, the resort. But if you get off, you may be SOL.
And guess what? You still got to get to the resort.
Yeah.
We had, when we went on a cruise, it was a couple of my buddies and their my girlfriend at the time and their girlfriends, now wives, and one of the guys was a Team USA baseball player. This is when we were in pro ball, and he got a nice chunk of change when he signed. His wife was Team USA softball player, and then Andrew was there, professional baseball player. I was a professional baseball player. And we get, we're doing an excursion. I think it might have been in Belize, actually.
Okay.
And we're doing an excursion, and we get in the taxi, and the guy's as nice as can be. The driver is. He's as nice as can be. But he starts talking to us, and he's like, oh, what do y'all do? Like, blah, blah, blah. And one of the girls goes, oh, yeah, all 3 of them play professional baseball. I play professional softball, and like he's Team USA, and I'm sitting in the back like,
we work in insurance.
what are we doing?
We work
like
in insurance.
we're gonna die.
Yeah,
is literally what my thought was. We are gonna get held for ransom. We're gonna die. And we get there to the excursion, and I think we were going to swim with dolphins, which was super peaceful.
Yeah,
until all of that stuff happens. And I just put my arm around her. I was like, hey, on the way back, let's not mention any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're in the minor leagues. We're not making any money.
Yeah.
But they don't know that.
No.
They hear professional athlete from America, and we got lucky because our taxi driver is literally the nicest person in the world. But if we got the wrong taxi
Yeah.
driver. He could have said he was taking us to the excursion. We would have had no idea. He could have taken us anywhere.
Yeah. That's not that it's the same, but I have heard comedian friends when they get on a plane, somebody starts talking to them. They're like, "What do you do?" And they're like, "Accountant."
Yeah.
Because they're like, no one wants to talk to the accountant.
Yeah.
Whereas if they said comedian, be like, "Oh, tell me a joke," all that, and they're like, "Nope,
Yep.
I'm an accountant."
I'm not a funny guy.
Nope. I try to think of the. I work in molecular biology. Do you want me to tell you about rotting flesh diseases? I'll tell you about that. Oh my god! All right, final question here, the big one. If you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell him?
Oh gosh. I think just enjoy the ride.
Okay.
Because I think when I say enjoy the ride, I'm talking about baseball. But
Okay.
for college, we were so just like we just didn't always have fun. Pro ball, I definitely didn't always have fun. And so for that, when we were at the LSU game, or there was a video, I don't know if you saw it. It went viral, but it was the Wake Forest baseball team singing, I think it was Pocket Full of Sunshine by Natasha Bedingfield or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were just being absolute goobers.
I think I did see that.
And
I think I saw her response first.
Yeah, and it was just, they were having so much fun.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something that I like overly experienced in college
Yeah.
because I wouldn't let myself. And in pro ball, I most definitely did not. So I think just enjoy it while it lasts and take it for what it is would be probably on that end. If you want to talk about like finances and investments and stuff, there's a lot of things. I was smarter than most with my money. When I signed, I wrote a check to a financial advisor and kept the majority of it. Knowing what I wish I would have known then what I know now as far as real estate and the power of investing on that type of stuff and a little bit more risky type investments. And I don't mean like risky as in crypto and all that stuff, but just like more leverage, understanding that stuff.
But you see, like Peyton Manning, before we passed being legal in Colorado, he knew it was coming down and invested in like 30 Papa John's, which is silly as that sounds. I was like, that is brilliant.
Genius.
That is brilliant from a business
What
perspective.
happens when you smoke weed?
Yeah.
You get the munchies.
And you don't want to go anywhere. You want it delivered. So anyway, sorry.
Genius.
Yeah.
No, I think that would have been one thing as well. Is just like I said. I mean, I was smart with it. I had you mentioned mentors. I had one in high school. Christy Ramsey. She was one of my teachers. Still to this day, one of my closest people.
Okay.
And I always would ask her opinion on things, and she would always help. She was an accounting teacher in high school and just a business teacher. I think she had a couple other business classes, and she always kind of steered me in the right direction on a lot of those things. So finding a good mentor is essential. Okay. And there's different.
If you win the lotto, your first call before you tell anybody should be to a lawyer.
Yeah. 100%. But yeah, I think those are the two biggest things probably.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.